Chapter 14:15. The Saint Spirit world was the most powerful world. The most powerful group of people in this world were the strongest combatants of the various parallel worlds. So, what would it be like when they fought? If this was any other world, they would be able to destroy countless worlds with just a wave of their hands. Fortunately, the world origin power here was incredibly powerful, as well as the will of the world manifested from the old gods. The stronger the people, the more powerful the world. That was why they were able to endure the battle of these people. However, as killing intent filled the sky, blood rained down, and the earth trembled, Gu Shan couldn't see the rest of the battle anymore. The red-haired woman waved her hand. Gu Shan, his chair, Crow, and the duck plushie were directly transported away. As a minor baron, as well as a baron squire, wanting to survive in the most intense war of this world was an extravagant hope. So the three of them were directly thrown far away to avoid being caught up in the battle. They appeared on a boundless ocean, being held up by a temporary thick block of ice. I didn't even have time to resist before I was thrown into the ocean, Crow mused. That's right, they're very strong, Gu Shan agreed. He remained sitting on his chair, raised his glass, and slowly took a sip. The ocean was calm. Occasionally, one or two seabirds would fly by, chirping happily. Look, there's a few tuna over there. Do you want to dash? Gu Shan pointed out to the duck plushie. The duck plushie protested. I'm not going to the water. Ha! How regretful. I was going to make you something to eat. Gu Shan regretfully said. They're already fighting, and you're still talking about food. Are we supposed to just wait here for the results? Crow opened his big, beautiful eyes wide, a bit speechless. From a scene of war where a storm was brewing to suddenly arrive at the calm and peaceful ocean, this contrast was a bit hard to get used to. All of a sudden, an intense wave of power appeared. It appeared at a place extremely far away from the ocean. But with Gu Shan and Crow's strength, they were still able to sharply notice this wave of power. The battle has begun. Crow clenched his fist. The duck plushie took out a notebook and did some calculations, then said excitedly, according to the usual rules of spatial magic, only someone 5 times stronger than us can ignore our power and directly teleport through space. In addition to the energy fluctuations we felt just now, divided by the total number of powerhouses that appeared just now, each of them is on average 3 times stronger than the 3 of us combined. Is that impressive? Crow was a bit skeptical. The numbers never lie, the duck plushie said. After saying that, both of them were a little dejected. Crow was already a top-notch title combatant of Void City, so even if he was weaker than the strongest void monsters, he wouldn't be that much weaker. It was a bit of a blow. When Gu Shan saw their expressions, she smiled and said, "Don't be discouraged. This should be the strongest world in history. It's already a great fortune for us to be able to see these experts. If we cultivate here in the future, we will definitely be able to reach their level." He poured wine for both of them, clinked glasses, and drained it in one gulp. Seeing that he had drunk, Crow also drank the wine in his cup. The feeling of drunkenness reverberated in his chest, completely wiping away the dejection he felt just now. Crow adjusted his mentality and asked, "Can you guess how the battle is progressing?" Gu Shan replied, "The Wraiths wouldn't be willing to give up so many years of hard work. They will definitely think of a way to salvage the situation. But you've recorded everything. The truth is clear. Who else can save them?" The duck plushie leisurely asked while enjoying the sea breeze. "Those who were taken over will definitely think of a way to erase some of the evidence, then rush over to save the Wraiths," Gu Shan replied. Crow said, "But everyone knows that they were taken over, so their appearance will only ignite the rage of those combatants." Gu Shan went silent briefly, then pondered. "In the worst-case scenario, they will find someone who hasn't been taken over to help them." Crow was surprised. "Someone who hasn't been taken over? Would such a person help them?" Gu Shan replied, "In every world, there would always be a few people who are filled with malice towards the world and its living beings. They would wear the disguise of respect while secretly carrying out the cruelest and cruelest of deeds. Their thoughts are not something we can understand." At this point, Shanu's voice silently resounded in Gu Shan's thoughts. "See, Gongzi, since you've learned Snowdrift, if the Wraiths want to make a comeback, you can demonstrate the situation of being taken over in front of everyone. The Earth Sword, and I will prepare to kill them. That won't do, Gu Qingshan replied. That won't do. That's right. That time was too difficult. We almost died. We can't stab ourselves again in front of so many people and be in a near-death state. That would be the same as being under someone else's control then. Shanna hesitated. Furthermore, the Wraiths would have already dealt with this matter. They wouldn't allow me to demonstrate this evidence. Gu Qingshan put down his glass, stood up, and drew his black bow. The evidence is, his hands moved extremely quickly, moving like blurred images as he pulled the bowstring. The arrows turned into streaks of light and flew across the surface of the sea. Eventually, they disappeared into the horizon, disappearing without a trace. I've already fully performed Snowdrift, so I should have been taken over, but nothing has happened. The Wraith had already erased the life-stealing body swat technique from this inheritance as quickly as possible, Gu Qingshan slowly explained. Shanna was a bit worried and muttered in a low voice. Those combatants wouldn't have been convinced, would they? I'm guessing they'll find me to verify the situation again, Gu Qingshan replied. Shanna was now truly worried and asked, Gongzi, what should we do now? The Wraiths must have already prepared something and are waiting for me. But the most they can do is find out that I made a lot of Jade tags. So the most they'll do is make things difficult for the Jade tags and accuse me of making them fake. Gu Qingshan took out the original Jade tag and kept stroking it. But they don't know that this Jade tag in my hand is their own. It contains the most original records of this world's original time and space. And with the world spirit as proof, they can't accuse me of making it fake. Strange. Why haven't they called me over yet? Did the Wraiths give up? As soon as he said so, he vanished from the surface of the ice. Outside Ramon village, Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared. Several hundred combatants' gazes were focused on him. In front of them, countless Wraiths were prostrating on the ground, displaying a gesture of surrender. In front of the Wraiths stood a few combatants in luxurious clothing. He's here. This Baron is here. There's nothing wrong with his projection, but he made it up himself. It's time to let everyone know the truth. He was indeed lying. That's right. None of you seriously think about it. That Jade tag was clearly made by him. Later on, the combatants all spoke up. Gu Qingshan coldly glanced at them, then turned to the combatants around him. He took out the original Jade tag and raised it high in his hand. At that moment, everyone's gazes were focused on the Jade tag. This was the Wraith's Jade tag. It contained the most original records of the Wraiths. The other side's expressions changed. But how could this reaction fool the combatants? They surrounded Gu Qingshan in the middle, cautiously preparing their defenses. An old farmer took the Jade tag from Gu Qingshan's hand, closed his eyes to sense it, then said, Using a temporal technique, we can see the truth. I believe there are no issues at the same time. Without waiting for anyone else to say anything, Gu Qingshan had already locked the title to the most flirtatious man. Title skill activated. Gu Qingshan spoke. Everyone, I am only a minor baron, but the Jade tag in my hand is the most original recording Jade tag. Regardless of what others say, a Jade tag is still a Jade tag. With your strength, you should be able to tell if it's real or not. So the truth is, the Wraiths are unwilling to give up on their many years of work, attempting to make their final struggle to continue controlling this world. Furthermore, the fact that they know this technique is an evil in itself. When our Saint Spirit world wants to kill someone, do we still need to be reasonable? Everyone went silent. All of a sudden, the combatants all began to express their opinions. That's right, they deserve to die for having such thoughts. Not to mention the current situation. That's right. There's no need to say anything else. Just kill them. That's right. An apocalypse is approaching. We can't let these Wraiths watch from the sidelines. Then, kill. Countless powerful techniques abruptly manifested in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. Someone waved their hand. The scene shook. Gu Qingshan had returned to the ocean. Crow and the duck plushie were each holding a fishing rod, seriously fishing. Gu Qingshan sat down on a chair and sighed comfortably. How is it? Do they ask you anything? Crow asked. I didn't let them, Gu Qingshan replied. And then, the duck plushie asked. They started fighting, Gu Qingshan replied. There won't be any more questions, will there? Crow asked. If you hesitate any longer, you won't be worthy of being called a combatant. Gu Qingshan smiled. TSK, TSK, a world-shaking battle that we didn't even get the chance to witness with our own eyes. The duck plushy sighed emotionally. Crow coldly laughed, then said, Even I don't have the qualifications to be there. A duck like you would die if you went saying so. He raised his fishing rod and pulled a large fish out of the water. Do you know how to cook fish from the sea? He asked Gu Qingshan. I do know a bit. Gu Qingshan crouched down and looked at the fish with interest. All of a sudden, she felt a burning sensation on her wrist. The blue skull pattern disappeared, turning into the pattern of clashing swords and blades. The world faded away from Gu Qingshan's vision. Complete darkness. Endless starlight descended, circling around Gu Qingshan and whispering into her ears. The Saint Spirit world and Wraith realm have officially broken off relations. The war has begun. You've proven your strength and wisdom. Please fight together with us. We shall further protect you. At the same time, a line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, you've obtained a recognition of the world spirit. From now on, there is no need to expend soul points at the corner of the UI. The soul points number that was continuously decreasing suddenly stopped. Gu Qingshan glanced at it. There was still over 200 million soul points left. That's not bad. The vast starlight faded away. The darkness faded away. The world returned to normal. Blue sky, blue ocean, wind blowing. Birds were flying. On top of the block of ice, Crow and the duck plushie were focused on fishing. Gu Qingshan rolled up her sleeves, picked up the fish, and seriously thought about what kind of lunch she should make. Chapter 14:16. In the wilderness. After Gu Qingshan was sent away, the atmosphere abruptly changed. Now that I think about it, a few dozen million years ago, the Wraith realm was a slave world that we conquered, the red-haired woman said. Indeed, according to historical records, they didn't fight against us for too long before they bowed down and willingly became our dogs, the old farmer said with his hands clasped behind his back. So they've always been plotting something, but what exactly do they want from our world after waiting for so many years? A young girl wearing a pure white dress and a staff in hand commented. The man wearing a crown coldly laughed, then replied, Regardless of what they want, if we kill them all, there's no longer any possibility that... So a great tree replied. Instantly, intense killing intent filled the entire battlefield. While they were talking, the blood-red masked Red Wraith understood that there was nothing he could do to salvage the situation. Countless schemes and secret operations over the long years have been foiled by a 15-year-old Baron today. How regretful, Red Wraith sighed. One of the combatants in front of him had already raised his hand and unleashed a technique. Red Wraith understood that this was a matter of life and death, so he didn't bother to resist and allowed the technique to blow away his subordinates, killing them on the spot. Everyone, he clasped his fist. Allow me to say one last thing. You must listen to this. Sure enough, the combatants of the Saint Spirit world were looking at him. Red Wraith smirked slyly. Taking advantage of this brief moment of opportunity, several hundred wraiths surrounded him, all of them forming hand seals and shouting, With the power of my death, Wraith Mountain Technique, activate. Their bodies fused together and instantly exploded, turning into a crimson shadow. The curtain of shadow separated the combatants from the wraiths. Red Wraith retreated step by step. The powerful wraiths surrounded him, taking out their formation plates and began to arrange them. Do you really think you can escape? The red-haired woman coldly smirked. Her body turned into a several dozen meter-long bird of flames that crashed into the crimson shadow. The flames rose to the sky. The bird of flames was bounced back into the air. Strange, this seems to be a unique power of law. The bird of flames spoke in human language. The experts all tried to attack it with all their might, but the dark red light only shook and did not shatter. It's useless. The lives of hundreds of powerful evil spirits can only hold on for 5 breaths of time. Red Wraith sighed again. Hundreds of experts gave up everything just to help him fight for a chance to escape. The price was too high. around Red Wraith. The remaining wraiths moved very quickly, setting up a long-distance warp formation in just a single breath's worth of time. Red Wraith then said, "Everyone, you've caused me to lose a lot of capable soldiers. Once I return to the Wraith realm, I will definitely lead my army here to fight against you all." He cupped his fists and bowed, saying deeply, "If I don't take revenge, I'm not a gentleman." 5 breaths were over. Red Wraith didn't hesitate any longer, stepped into the warp formation, and slowly disappeared. Meanwhile, on the sea, if the wraiths want to run away this time, they'll be dreaming, Gu Qingshan said. "What?" Crow asked while eating his fried fish. Gu Qingshan poured herself a full glass of liquor, comfortably took a sip, then explained, "The current world is actually the fusion of 3 worlds after they were destroyed. Then, it came from 3 parallel worlds, using the power of fusion to perform a temporal reversal. Through the temporal reversal, everyone in the Saint Spirit world was revived, returning time to the era when this world was at its most powerful. This caused a problem. The flow of time in the Saint Spirit world is completely different from the flow of time in the space vortex where we are," the duck plushie called out. "I understand now. The wraiths can only obediently stay in this world, unable to go to other worlds. Because the flow of time is different, the 3 great laws of reality wouldn't allow them to enter other worlds within the space vortex. Otherwise, it would cause temporal distortion." "Correct," Gu Qingshan praised. He tossed a piece of meat pie to the duck plushie, then watched as it enjoyed it. Crow thought for a bit, then asked, "What will happen to this world from now on?" Gu Qingshan shook her head. "A calamity from a parallel world. A part of it turned into fate corrosion and was used by the wraiths to deal with the eternal abyss. A part of the destroyed world has already disappeared without a trace, leaving only this Saint Spirit world. I don't know what will happen to it. Either he suddenly sensed something and took out the black leather book." The black leather book automatically flipped to a page, showing the empty, Crimson Demon Divine Spear card slot and the Divine Word, Purify card. Under Gu Qingshan's gaze, the black leather book flipped to another page. There were 3 card slots on this page. 2 of the slots were empty, but the 3rd slot had a card. The card depicted the terrifying scene of the world's destruction. Below the card was the card's name and explanation, frowny face card. World's Confusion. This is a card created by the world's spirit to facilitate communication with you. Among the many parallel worlds, almost none of them were more powerful than the Saint Spirit world. But the wraiths had their eyes on the Saint Spirit world, spending countless years to push it into a state of destruction. If they only wanted to cause a massive fate corrosion, this reason seems too weak. Both the deities and the world's spirit were confused by this. In the following battle, I hope that you will be able to further investigate the wraith secrets and find out the reason behind their actions. If you successfully obtain the answer, you may use this card to directly communicate with the world's spirit and obtain a precious card from the inner plane. Armor of Condemnation. Gu Qingshan quickly finished reading through it, feeling a bit tempted. Investigating the Wraith Realm's secrets was something he wanted to do in the first place. And now, if I can complete this task, I'll even obtain the Armor of Condemnation. The best armor he had before was given to Sucher, but all of the armors after that were quickly destroyed. Items from the Condemnation series were all exceptionally powerful. Right now, Gu Qingshan really wanted a good armor. Holding the card in hand, he hurriedly asked, "Can I take a look at what the Armor of Condemnation looks like? That way, I'll be even more motivated." There was a strange fluctuation on the card. The world's spirit responded to him. A faint image of a card slowly manifested between the 2 empty card slots. It was a milky white armor. Most of the skin was exposed. Only a few crucial locations were covered by armor plates. Fortunately, the back of the armor was a bit more complex, with 2 white wings about the size of a palm. The wings could still move. At the bottom of the card, there was also a name, Frowny Face Divine Armor, Cherub of Condemnation. A solemn voice resounded by Gu Qingshan's ears, Frowny Face, as the deity of condemnation. "I grant thee the Cherub of Condemnation armor." Looking at the armor, Gu Qingshan was almost petrified. He held the World's Confusion card tightly in his hand and resolutely declared, "No, This armor definitely won't do. If you give me this armor, I'll turn against you. The world's confusion card gave off a long vibration, as if the world's spirit was truly doubtful. A few moments later, a line of text appeared on the card, frowny face, why? I can sense your desire for a set of armor. This is the reward I've carefully prepared according to your deity. Gu Qingshan controlled his emotions and calmly replied, please give me a set of armor that won't make people laugh. The world's confusion card trembled again. New text appeared on the card, frowny face, then. You shall receive the armor of a condemnation warrior, the armor of a condemner. Are you truly willing to give up the divine armor for a set of armor of the mortal world? This time, Gu Qingshan was even more cautious and said, please let me take a look at what this armor looks like. No problem. From the 2 empty slots on the card, the cherub armor disappeared and a new figure slowly manifested. This was a set of silver chainmail armor with faint golden runes inlaid on it, giving it a rather imposing appearance. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief. Very well, this is it, he confirmed. A line of text appeared on the world's confusion card. It's a deal. You must find out the true reason why the wraiths attacked this world. Then the world's origin power will manifest an armor card for you. It's a deal, Gu Qingshan replied. The card flew from his hand and returned to the slot. The black leather book closed. At another location, Red Wraith led the wraiths and stood in the wilderness. The powerful defensive technique that lasted for 5 breaths worth of time had already disappeared. Around them, the heroes of the Saint Spirit world slowly gathered. You said, you want to lead an army here? A burly man clenched his fist and asked. He also said that he wouldn't be a gentleman if he didn't get his revenge. The red-haired woman crossed her arms. Red Wraith's face was covered in cold sweat. He really didn't know why he couldn't teleport away from the Saint Spirit world. Chapter 14:17. 2 days later, a certain city. A sharp arrow pierced through the air, whistling like a whistle as it pierced through a long street and nailed a man to a wall. Save me. The man struggled to call out. Save? A female voice called out. Crow slid down from the wall and stared at the man with interest. The man begged, I'm really not a wraith. I'm just a civilian. Please don't kill me. Crow drew a rapier and smiled. Unfortunately, I've never been soft-hearted when it comes to killing. I'm not lying. The man struggled to raise his hand and pointed at the unlatched door behind him. Inside the door, a woman was holding a baby in her arms, looking at Crow with a fearful expression. As Crow glanced at her, her expression became complicated. She shouted towards the end of the street. Hey, did you make a mistake this time? Perhaps that bastard won't harm civilians? There was no response from the end of the street. The wind howled. Perhaps because Crow's voice was too loud, the baby was frightened and started crying. Crow looked at the end of the street and muttered in irritation. This great one was born a combatant. I've never come into contact with a normal person. What are we going to do with this civilian? All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan's voice came from next to him. Let me take a look. Gu Qingshan tied the bow to her back, placed one hand on the man's chest, the other holding the black leather book, and muttered, The life and death of all things is but an instant. With my power of condemnation, your suffering shall be alleviated. Divine word cleansed. The man's body abruptly trembled and lost all signs of life on the spot. No, the woman's cries resounded. She rushed out of the room with the baby in her arms, hurriedly running towards the man's corpse. Crow looked at the corpse, then at the woman, then hurriedly said, Hey, this is a normal person without any abilities. What are we going to do? Gu Qingshan didn't say anything but held the bow in her hand. You, Crow anxiously shouted. Gu Qingshan ignored him and raised her bow to shoot. A bolt of lightning shot out from the bowstring, pierced through the woman's shoulder, then dragged her away and pinned her to the wall. Embark! The woman's body twitched, screaming in pain. By the time she was hit by the arrow, the baby in her hand had already been thrown out and was about to hit another wall. Crow hurriedly went to pick up the baby. Gu Qingshan flew forward, held the girl down with one hand, and took out the black handbook with the other, quickly chanting, The life and death of all things is but an instant. With my power of condemnation, your suffering shall surely be relieved. Divine word technique, cleanse. The woman's body trembled, and immediately, a black shadow flew out from her body and slowly disappeared. At this point, Crow had caught the baby and was looking at Gu Shan and the woman with concern. "Leave the baby," Gu Shan suddenly roared. In Crow's arms, the crying baby abruptly reached out with both hands and stabbed towards Crow. The baby's face was ferocious, and his hands turned into sharp claws. He only needed one strike to cut off anyone's neck. He had almost succeeded, but at the very last moment, intense cold air erupted from Crow's body, directly freezing the baby inside a crystal-clear block of ice. "Go!" The duck plushie jumped out from Crow's arms and kicked the block of ice away. Noticing that he had lost his chance, a mass of black fog slowly manifested around his body. The fog then manifested into a wraith figure wearing a red mask, staring straight at Gu Shan. "Road," the wraith figure spoke. 60% of the normal people in this world are under my control. You won't be able to kill me," his tone became mocking. "Or perhaps you've always enjoyed slaughtering civilians? Very well, I'll satisfy you. Wherever you go, I guarantee that all civilians will die without a trace," Gu Shan casually replied. "These people are already dead. Not even their souls exist anymore. Otherwise, after I dispelled your technique just now, they would have revived and not died." Crow was soaked in cold sweat earlier, so he angrily shouted, "Bastard, you would even kill a baby, you piece of trash." He thrust his sword forward. The wraith figure was instantly shattered, leaving only a few scattered voices. "Strange. Condemner, could it be you're not?" The voices disappeared. Red Wraith's technique had ended. Omaki walked forward to check the 3 corpses, then said, "It's still the same technique, normally undetectable. Only after it's activated will the soul be instantly killed, turning it into a corpse that can be controlled from afar." He shivered, muttering in a low voice, "The Wraith Realm actually has such a cruel technique? Our Void Library had never noticed it before." Gu Shan glanced at the corpses on the ground. A family of 3. If the Wraiths hadn't invaded, they would have been able to live a peaceful life, instead of being reduced to corpses like they were now. 2 days ago, in the wilderness outside of Ramon Village, the combatants of the Saint Spirit world had eliminated a large number of Wraiths. Red Wraith used some sort of unknown technique to escape with his body alone. This was only the beginning. As the truth was revealed, the combatants came up with many solutions, finally publicizing 7 divine techniques to identify the Wraiths in order to uncover the hidden Wraiths and help the people eliminate them. What they didn't expect was that the Wraiths had been plotting for countless years in the Saint Spirit world, had taken over a large number of aristocrats, and even civilians were under their control. The age of chaos had finally arrived. One of the 2 great empires, the Frost Empire, immediately declared that they wouldn't accept any techniques examination, stating that everything was an illusion, an excuse for the combatants to destroy the empire. From top to bottom, the entire empire was preparing for war. The combatants of the empire immediately began to invade other dukedoms, calling it a preemptive war of righteousness. This was very clear. The Wraiths had taken over the majority of the combatants of this empire, as well as taking control of everything. Meanwhile, the other empire, the Roland Empire, after a series of intense investigations, found that very few Wraiths had taken over their territory. Turns out this was related to the customs of the empire. The aristocrats of the Roland Empire believed that anything given by others must first be offered to the deities. They would soak the inherited techniques, treasures, and armors given by the Wraiths in the sacred ritual spring, offering them to the deities before taking them for themselves. The sacred ritual spring naturally carried a purifying effect, so any treasures that were soaked in it would lose their ability to be taken over. The Wraiths didn't have any good solutions to this, nor did they dare to try and shake this type of faith. In the end, the Wraiths had no choice but to offer the Roland Empire's aristocrats a few decent items, focusing their attention on the Frost Empire. The dukedom that Gu Shan resided in was a part of the Frost Empire. And now, the 2 great empires had completely fallen out, or rather, the Wraiths had finally revealed their true colors. War had erupted without any arguments. This time, everyone was caught up in it. The city seems to be about to fall. Should we lend a hand? Crow asked. Gu Shan followed him to bury the 3 corpses, then looked towards the depths of the city. The shadows there were filled with people. People who had been taken over by the wraiths. The military, civilians, aristocrats. All of them were doing their best to stop the Roland Empire's attack. These people were actually the wraiths who had taken over their bodies. Red Wraith had used some sort of unknown technique that allowed him to take control of any person's body at any time and issue orders to the wraiths. The sound of explosions from the spells resounded continuously across the sky. The earth and buildings were both trembling, occasionally giving off the sound of collapsing. The siege of the city was still ongoing. Gu Shan sighed, then said, "Let's return to the Roland Empire for a bit. Today's nobility ceremony will be held, so we need to have authority in hand to better deal with the problem." Crow agreed. "That's true, but after the nobility ceremony is over, I want to kill the wraiths again." Gu Shan looked at him, only to see that his eyes were filled with uncontrollable killing intent. "All right, I'll come with you," Gu Shan said. A white fog manifested out of nowhere and enveloped the 2 of them like a tornado. They left the war-torn streets of the city, the Roland Empire, the capital, Holy Crown City. As soon as Gu Shan and the others returned to their rooms, they heard a knock on the door. "Road, His Majesty has summoned you." Gu Shan opened the door and followed the guards into the palace. After numerous inspections, he and Crow were finally led into the palace. From afar, they could see the Emperor of the Roland Empire discussing the current state of the war with other combatants. Occasionally, someone would come to report the latest military situation. The sense of urgency of war naturally arose in Gu Shan's mind. The guard had Gu Shan and Crow stay where they were while he stepped forward and loudly reported, "Your Majesty, road has been brought here." All the voices of discussion disappeared. The combatants all turned to look at Gu Shan. Emperor Roland also put away his solemn expression and smiled as he walked towards Gu Shan. The first person to discover the Wraith scheme was a young man and a rare condemner. In truth, it has been a very long time since a condemner has appeared on the continent. The Church of Condemners is nothing but an empty shell. He drew his ceremonial sword and lightly touched Gu Shan's shoulder. "Road, I have a question," Emperor Roland said. "Please go ahead." "Your Majesty," Gu Shan replied. Emperor Roland said, "I want to know why you would doubt the Wraith's gifts. You should know that this has been the norm for over 1,000 years. Everyone has already gotten used to it," Gu Shan replied. "Your Majesty, something like reaping without sowing would always make me feel uneasy, so I don't mind thinking of it with the worst of intentions." Emperor Roland fell into thought for a bit. "You're right. The reason why we were fooled by the wraiths was because we were too powerful, causing us to develop arrogance and prejudice. But I guarantee that it won't happen again from now on." Saying so, he heavily tapped both of Gu Shan's shoulders with the ceremonial sword and muttered, "I, the King of Roland, Friedrich, hereby confer Baron Road the title of Viscount of the Holy Roland Empire, and for his salvation and contribution to all of mankind, confer the title of Earl of Midnight. May your heart be like a blazing holy light, dispelling all darkness in this world, ensuring that the night never descends upon living beings." Gu Shan was a bit surprised. Emperor Roland put the ceremonial sword away and patted his shoulder. "Truthfully, the title of Count doesn't match your contributions, but you're only 15 years old. I can't give you too much power. That would only ruin you. Do you have any objections?" "I do not," Gu Shan replied. "Very well. It's currently a time of war, so everything should be kept simple. But the things you should receive will not be missing. Someone will bring you to receive them. Yes, by the way, what do you want to do next? The territory I'm giving you is one of the best vacation spots in the Empire. Go take a look first." "Your Majesty, I was the one who first discovered the wraiths. I want to go to the battlefield." Emperor Roland smiled. The combatants also looked at Gu Shan with a bit of a smile in their eyes. "One nice little guy." The red-haired beauty licked her lips and muttered, "That's right, a new condemner," the old farmer sighed. Emperor Roland's attitude also became a bit friendlier and said, "Road, you are a nice child. You will definitely become a pillar of the Empire in the future. There's no doubt about that." but you're only 15 years old right now. You need to be protected. Through the tempering of time, you need to grow up properly, and you also need to meet a few like-minded friends. I even hope that you can find some love here." Before Gu Qingshan could say anything else, Emperor Roland had already patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, with so many combatants here, we're more than enough to handle the war. Servants, bring our new count away. He needs a formal attire to show his status." Chapter 14:18. Together with Crow, Gu Qingshan was led away by the ceremonial officer. Following the luxurious carpet, 6 maids were standing at the end of the path, waiting for Gu Qingshan. The ceremonial officer looked at the 6 maids, then at Gu Qingshan. "What?" Gu Qingshan didn't understand, and also looked back at the ceremonial officer. At this point, the maids bowed and spoke in unison. "Sir Count, your formal attire has been prepared. You may return." "Very well." The ceremonial officer returned the greeting, then turned to leave. He didn't pay any more attention to Gu Qingshan's gaze. The 6 maids received Gu Qingshan and Crow, led them up a few flights of stairs, then upstairs to a lounge. Another maid was waiting for them here. The 6 maids walked in front of her and bowed in unison. "Manager, Sir Count has arrived." The woman had a plain appearance, but gave off the air of a steward. She said, "Greetings, Sir Count. His Majesty has ordered me and my maids to arrange your attire, travel, introduction of your fief, and gifts from the aristocrats. Don't worry, there won't be any issues, not to mention, you don't need to be afraid of these things. Furthermore, you have a residence in Holy Crown City, as well as the necessary personnel. Thank you." "Thank you very much," Gu Qingshan said. The woman then explained, "Sir Count, as well as your knight, as you have never been to the Roland Empire before, your formal attire was made as quickly as possible. Please try on first. We'll change it if there are any issues." "Thank you. I'll try it on right away." Gu Qingshan nodded. Crow also nodded in return. The two of them were originally barons of a small duchy under the rule of the Frost Empire. Now that the Frost Empire had been taken over by the Wraiths, they had also come to the Roland Empire, so the people here naturally hadn't seen them before, nor did they know their measurements. Very quickly, a full set of count attire was placed in front of Gu Qingshan. His hat, his coat, his short scepter, his trousers, and his boots were all black. Only the shirt beneath was white. In front of Crow was a neat and tidy female military uniform, also black. According to the regulations of the Roland Empire, knights were required to wear military uniforms in non-combat situations to show their status. The Roland Empire's aristocratic clothing advocated black, believing that this color was formal, solemn, and represented authority. The woman winked at the maids and said, "Go, help the Count undress." "No need." Gu Qingshan hurriedly stopped her good intentions and said, "Let me wear it myself." Crow also said, "That's right, we'll wear it ourselves. No need for help." The woman was taken aback for a moment before realization dawned on her. The Count was only 15 years old, so it was normal for him to be shy. As for his knight, with such a beautiful face, he was afraid that she was not just a simple knight. Perhaps she would be the one to help the Count put on his clothes. The woman maintained a dignified and gentle expression on her face. She led the maids and said, "Then we will wait outside the door. Please try on your formal attire first." "Got it," Gu Qingshan and Crow both replied. The maids retreated. The door closed. The two of them began to put on and take off their clothes. "Crow, go inside. There's another changing room," Gu Qingshan told Crow. Crow looked down at herself, then took the entire set of clothes and left. The duck plushie followed behind her. Gu Qingshan changed into her formal attire, held the Count's scepter in hand, and looked at herself in the mirror. "It's all right. It seems a bit more dignified." Crow also quickly changed into a military uniform and walked over. "You look quite experienced in this uniform," Crow commented. You can call the maids in now," Gu Qingshan said. "Wait a minute." Crow suddenly took out a flying bird emblem, closed his eyes and sensed it for a bit, then said, "On the entire battlefront, the Roland Empire and the Frost Empire both have their own victories and defeats. In the small city called Whites that we went to before, The war has reached its climax. Gu Qin glanced at the emblem in his hand and asked, "Can you see who has the upper hand?" Crow scowled. "I can vaguely see that the Wraiths have the upper hand. Because that city is their territory. They've already set up numerous traps. The Roland Empire's army has suffered greatly. They won't be able to hold on for much longer. Shall we go and fight?" Gu Qin suggested. Crow agreed. "Let's go." A white fog descended from above, bringing the two of them away from the room. As soon as they left, the door was pushed open. The girl from before came in with 6 maids. At this point, her presence was completely different from before, becoming even more lofty and imposing. The 6 maids also became even more cautious. The girl scoffed, then muttered, "He's clearly 2 years younger than me. Yet father still wants me to come take a look. His eyes are getting worse and worse." Saying so, she gestured with her hand. One of the maids appeared troubled and said, "Your Highness, the Count is changing clothes. He is changing clothes in my territory," the girl casually replied. The maid had no choice but to take down a book from a certain spot on the wall and chanted an incantation. A screen appeared on the book. The scene from before slowly appeared in front of their eyes. Gu Qin had Crow change clothes on the other side. The two of them went their separate ways. The maids hurriedly lowered their heads. The girl watched with a serious expression. A few moments later, Crow returned and told them about the front lines. The two of them disappeared into the white fog. The scene ended. "White City," the girl chanted, then ordered, "Adjust the perspective of White City's war. I want to observe it now." Understood. The white fog scattered. Gu Qin and Crow appeared on the street from before. The street was covered in blood and corpses. A series of explosions rang out in the sky. The fluctuations of the technique were comparable to a continuous earthquake. The two of them weren't in a hurry to act, and first hid behind the door. Crow drew his rapier and asked, "How do we fight? After these wraiths take over, it seems they can't use the guy's hex and life talismans from before." Gu Qin pondered. "But they've grasped the various powers of this world. Not at all inferior to the Roland Empire's army," Crow replied. "This proves one thing. The true bodies of the old gods weren't in this world from the very beginning. Otherwise, as soon as the old gods stripped those people of their powers, this war would have been won without a doubt." Gu Qin pondered. "Let's go, but this is a large-scale war, so we have to wear armor." Crow took out a set of armor. This was the title Hitman armor he wore when he was still a man, so it was a bit too big for him to wear right now. Fortunately, he was wearing a full military uniform, so he was barely able to fit into this set of armor. Gu Qin also took out a set of silver armor with golden patterns, lightly patted it, then put it on. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face armor of condemnation, primary, sturdy, magic repellent. This simple introduction was a bit too simple. Gu Qin couldn't help but recall the little angel armor from before. That was a divine armor, but it looked like a bikini with a pair of tiny wings on its back. Forget it. Gu Qin drew her black bow and sent her voice. "Crow, my current identity is that of a bow user, so I can't easily expose my swordsmanship. However, Snowdrift isn't very useful in close combat, and my other bow techniques aren't enough to deal with these enemies. But this bow has the power of time, capable of shortening flight time. While I can imbue my arrows with the power of lightning to restrict the enemy's movement," Crow asked, "How long can you restrict the enemy?" 5 seconds, Gu Qin replied. Crow's expression changed. "That's enough. I'll follow your arrows, so if anything happens to you, I'll come back and protect you." "Got it," Gu Qin replied. The two of them rushed out the door. Gu Qin raised her hand to draw the bow, then abruptly let go. 5 dark blue arrows of lightning flew out in a row, drawing arcs in the air as they shot towards the Frost Empire soldiers outside. Shifting flurry, lightning thaumaturgy, dream jolt. Gu Qin didn't stop there. Her hands turned into blurred images as she pulled the bowstring again and again. The sky was filled with flashes of lightning. Crow followed behind the flashes of lightning. Whenever the flashes of lightning hit an enemy, his sword would pierce through the enemy and turn them into a burning corpse. After a few dozen seconds, the enemies in this block were slowly cleared out by the two of them. Crow landed next to Gu Qin and said, They're all normal soldiers. There's no challenge at all. Gu Qingshan released her inner sight and spoke with a serious expression. Be careful. The more enemies we kill, the easier it is to draw the attention of powerful monsters. Crow didn't mind. It's fine with your lightning arrows and my flame explosion sword, unless it's a magic scale dragon of this world. Dash. He suddenly realized something and quickly shut his mouth. Gu Qingshan's eyebrows were already raised. Boom! A black figure descended from above, landing in front of the two of them. This was a dragon that was almost 100 meters long. By simply landing, its gigantic body had destroyed every building in the entire block. It really is a magic scale dragon. The duck plushie covered his face and muttered in despair. Gu Qingshan sighed. The magic scale dragon had a dragon armor that could resist elemental attacks. Combined with draconic magic and sharp claws, it was an opponent that could only be defeated by physical attacks. But defeating a dragon with physical attacks alone wasn't easy at all. The magic scale dragon exhaled deeply. The intense wind almost blew the duck plushie away, but Crow caught it and stuffed it into his pocket. This guy isn't easy to deal with. I'll go first. Crow swung his sword. A layer of burning magma appeared on his blade. I'll go first. Fortunately, it's quite chaotic here, so no one noticed us, Gu Qingshan muttered. Even if they did, it wouldn't be a problem, as most dragons were old scoundrels who were good at hiding their identities, so they didn't like to reveal their true identities. Gu Qingshan let go of his bow and took a step back. Boundless black smoke began to spread from his body. The black dragon's form slowly manifested. Roar! The dark magic dragon who had fused 3 dragons' power abruptly appeared and charged towards the magic scale dragon. At another location, the Roland Empire, Holy Crown City, the Royal Palace. Within the screen of light, 2 dragons soared into the sky, letting out a deafening roar. The woman silently watched this scene. Not only the condemner, but also the dragon race? That's interesting, she murmured softly. Chapter 1419. On the battlefield, the sounds of battle resounded. The battle between the 2 empires had reached its climax. Above the clouds, the roars of the 2 dragons as they fought caused everyone's hearts to skip a beat. The magic scale dragon's scales were as tough as steel, so it slammed into the black dragon's body and sent him flying out of the battlefield. The black dragon slowly turned around in midair, regaining his senses. Be careful. His attacks are very methodical, Crow loudly said. When Gu Qingshan turned into a black dragon, he had already jumped onto the black dragon's back and followed Gu Qingshan into the sky. Gu Qingshan replied, I haven't been a dragon for very long, so I'm not too familiar with pure melee combat, Crow reminded him. You can infuse some of your skills into your attacks. It'll work just as well. Understood. Gu Qingshan uttered a dragon roar and charged into the battlefield again. The 2 dragons fought back and forth in the sky, fighting each other. A few moments later, the magic scale dragon swung its tail and struck the black dragon's chest, sending him flying again. What a fool with nothing but strength, the magic scale dragon mocked. The black dragon stopped his retreat and abruptly disappeared. He reappeared right above the magic scale dragon, opened his mouth, and breathed out a jet of dark blue dragon flames. I've been waiting for you. The magic scale dragon raised its head and breathed out another jet of dark yellow flames. The 2 flames clashed and spread in every direction. From afar, it looked like a sea of flames that engulfed the world. But this time, the magic scale dragon miscalculated. The black dragon had the power of 3 dragons, so the dark blue and black flames it breathed out were much more powerful than normal dragons. The magic scale dragon was enveloped by the intense flames. It's useless. The magic scale dragon endured inside the sea of flames for a bit, its scales giving off a metallic clanking noise. It roared, I am a magic scale body. I don't fear elemental damage. Saying so, it charged out of the sea of flames and charged at the black dragon again. Dong! A resounding impact. The 2 dragons clashed, giving off a powerful shockwave. The magic scale dragon took that chance and bit down on the black dragon's neck, tearing off a large chunk of flesh. idiot with flaws all over his body. The magic scale dragon spat out a mouthful of blood and flesh and said mockingly. The black dragon, however, suddenly stretched out a dragon claw and pressed it firmly against the other's head, shouting, "Hurry! Fast!" While the magic scale dragon was puzzled, it suddenly felt a sharp pain. Inside its mouth, Crow pulled out his rapier and stabbed it straight into the creature's throat. Just now, Gu Shan had purposely left an opening, which allowed Crow to avoid the magic scales and enter the dragon's mouth. Even though it had incomparably tough dragon scales, its mouth was not protected by the dragon scales. Air currents gathered around Crow's body like wind. Dash, it's been a long time since I used my full strength. After saying that, Crow raised his sword and stabbed with all his might. Boom! A violent explosion sounded from the dragon's mouth. Many of the scales on the dragon's head burst open and scattered into the sky. Blood splattered everywhere. The magic scale dragon pushed the black dragon away and let out a miserable howl that resounded through the sky. Crow took that chance to retreat, landing on the black dragon's body. "This feels so good. How do we fight next?" he loudly asked. The black dragon replied, "It's probably going to go berserk after this, so I need to use an unstoppable power to deal with it. Make sure to pay attention to your own safety." Crow's expression turned serious and replied, "Got it," at the very next moment. The magic scale dragon abruptly roared in anger. "Treacherous bastard, you think you can deal with me just like that? I want you dead right now." Frenzied killing intent erupted from its body. Layers upon layers of raging flames manifested on its body. The air was filled with chaotic, magical fluctuations. The black dragon god became even more cautious, silently pulled away, stabilized his body in the sky, and prepared himself. The magic scale dragon stared at him, then suddenly spoke. "You strange dragon, what exactly are you?" Spitting out dragon flames of 3 different colors, green, black, and red, and even asking for help from a human in a fight. "Don't say that I look down on you. I look down on you." The black dragon's expression changed. A layer of white fog several hundred meters wide manifested out of nowhere, enveloped the black dragon, and disappeared. The magic scale dragon froze. "Strange. I only just started and it already ran away?" The magic scale dragon muttered. Several 10,000 miles away, Ramon Village. A mass of white fog descended from above. The black dragon turned back into Gu Shan and left the white fog together with Crow. "Why do we suddenly run away?" Crow asked in confusion. "I was unleashing an irresistible power, but it was also unleashing draconic magic," Gu Shan replied. He glanced at the war god UI, only to see a line of glowing text flashing on it. Frowny face combat warning. "You've been struck by draconic magic. Red shadow dragon hex. Chaos. Chaos. For every 30 incantation chanted, the target's perception will be lowered by 1 level. Your perception has been lowered by 1 level. Combat note. Your perception has a total of 21 levels. Fortunately, you managed to escape in time. Otherwise, all of your perception would have been stripped away, and you would have become nothing but a punching bag." Gu Shan silently sighed in relief, but also felt like cursing. "These dragons really are too treacherous. Fortunately, I prepare myself." "Strange, my perception towards my surroundings seems to have been obscured by something." Crow spoke up. "Me too." The duck plushie's voice came from inside her pocket. Gu Shan then explained the draconic magic to him. Crow was naturally shocked and couldn't help but curse. "A bunch of old scoundrels. I've always heard that dragons are shady entities, but I didn't think their magic would be the same." The duck plushie peeked his head out of Crow's pocket and asked, "I've always heard that draconic magic is irresistible, and it seems like that was indeed the case. What do we do now? Are we going back?" "No," Gu Shan shook his head. He drew his black bow and slowly knocked an arrow on the bowstring. "Your strike just now was very timely. A few of the scales on its head were broken," Gu Shan said. Crow was in disbelief. "This place is over 80,000 miles away from White City. You want to use an arrow to pierce through the cracks on its head?" Gu Shan replied, After all, I've already sensed the presence of its blood. A line of glowing text appeared in the void of space, frowny face activating divine skill. Snowdrift. Each arrow fired will cost 800,000 soul points. Gu Qingshan still had over 200 million soul points left, so she didn't mind it too much and infused it into the black bow. A wondrous fluctuation began to radiate from his body. The bowstring was slowly pulled back to form a full moon. A moment of pause. All of a sudden, the bowstring split into multiple images, followed by a thunderous explosion. The arrow disappeared without a trace. At another location, the magic scale dragon circled in the sky, looking down at the battlefield below. If that guy managed to escape, then next, all of a sudden, it felt a sense of danger. Boom! A deep black hole abruptly appeared in the void of space. Countless tiny cracks began to spread in every direction. The magic scale dragon's head was blasted open, blood splattered all over the place. It roared and immediately tried to find the enemy. At the very next moment, another black hole appeared in the void of space. The second arrow, so fast, there's no time to dodge. The magic scale dragon was sent tumbling in the air. Half of its skull was exposed. It was quick to react and immediately tried to think of a way to escape. Right at this moment, an unbearable pain came from its body, causing the magic scale dragon to tremble. Damn it, what kind of technique is this? When did I get hit by such an unbearably painful technique? The magic scale dragon couldn't understand, nor did it have the time to think about it. The void of space split open again. The arrow flashed and struck the dragon's head. Boom! Blood exploded everywhere. On the ground, a rain of blood began to pour down. The magic scale dragon was hit by 3 snowdrift arrows in a row, almost losing consciousness. A white fog appeared in the sky. Gu Qingshan and Crow appeared. Crow looked at the dying magic scale dragon and clicked his tongue. So, this is Snowdrift? Other than the wound on its head, the magic scale dragon seemed to be affected by something else. Its entire body was twitching uncontrollably, as if in extreme pain. Yes, this is Snowdrift, but it's not just Snowdrift. Gu Qingshan put the black bow away, her body once again transforming into a dragon within the layers of black shadows. Roar! The black dragon's gigantic body once again obscured the clouds. It leapt forward, bit down on the magic scale dragon's head, and began to tear it apart. All of a sudden, the black dragon looked up. It was holding the magic scale dragon's head in its mouth. The headless dragon's corpse fell from the sky, crashing into the ground. This scene successfully shocked the battlefield below. The Frost Empire's soldiers began to flee. Chapter 1420. The headless dragon corpse fell to the ground. As the black dragon coldly watched this, the gloomy presence around his body abruptly moved. Clusters of black fog exuded from his body, as if they were alive, enveloping both the dragon corpse and the dragon head. While this dragon was performing Red Shadow Dragon Hex, Chaos, Gu Qingshan was also performing a spell, Magic Dragon's Bloodline. Magic Dragon's Bloodline was an ability that even the bygone-era humans feared, capable of silently corroding any living being and turning them into their own power. This dragon had already been hit twice by Snowdrift, but due to being affected by the Magic Dragon's Bloodline while fleeing, its body was in intense pain, which was why it missed its final chance to escape. The black fog that was as thick as ink seemed to be alive, quickly devouring both the dragon corpse and the dragon head. Come, the black dragon shouted. Even if he had to risk exposing his identity, he had to absorb this bloodline's power. This was the power of a dragon. It would help him quickly grow stronger. The thick black fog swept upwards, returned to the sky, and entered the black dragon's body. Ugh! The black dragon uttered a painful groan. Although he had already absorbed the power of 3 dragons, the power of a dragon was still too much for the black dragon to bear, causing him extreme pain. The powerful and abundant magic scale dragon's power assaulted his thoughts, soul, and body, causing excruciating pain as if he was being cut by 1,000 knives. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the War God UI. Frowny face, you've killed a magic dragon's bloodline's bloodline. This magic dragon's bloodline's power will be completely devoured by you as the magic dragon. You've killed a mythical creature, magic scale dragon. Although you have the power of 3 dragons, your usage of dragon power is too shallow. It had a very high chance of defeating and killing you. This battle has been judged as a battle between equals. You will receive the corresponding amount of soul points. Calculating soul points, Gu Shan suddenly noticed something. Crow, find a place to hide and wait for me, he whispered. All right, I didn't think you could turn into a dragon. What a cool devil, Crow excitedly said, then disappear in the blink of an eye. A white mist surged around the black dragon's body, enveloping it and disappearing from the battlefield. The sea. White mist filled the air above the azure sea. Soon, a black dragon appeared in the fog. The black dragon uttered a painful roar, rolled on the ground, and turned back into an orange cat. Orange sovereign transformation. Unlike when she absorbed the magic dragon, the mountain of orange thaumaturgy had also mutated after Gu Shan became a Sumeru lord. After transforming into the orange sovereign, apart from ghostly shadow of night, Gu Shan also obtained another ability, power absorption. You will no longer absorb soul origin energy from the void, but through eating and devouring, the soul origin energy you obtain will be doubled. The orange cat waved his paw, manifested a block of ice on the surface of the ocean, then crawled onto it. Sensing his body's reaction, the orange cat slowly calmed down. Sure enough, after transforming into the orange sovereign, he was adept at devouring energy in the first place. As a result, the feeling of being sliced apart by 1,000 blades disappeared without a trace. That's right. The orange cat laid on top of the block of ice, basking in the sun and comfortably squinting his eyes. All of a sudden, a line of glowing text appeared in the void of space. Frowny face. After transforming into the orange sovereign, the amount of soul points you can absorb will be doubled. Furthermore, you are currently using Magic Dragon's bloodline to devour the power of the mythical creature, Magic Scale Dragon. The Orange Sovereign has a powerful devouring ability. Your absorption of the Magic Scale Dragon's power is accelerating. Gu Shan's heart calmed down. My body no longer hurts, my soul points have been doubled, and the absorption of power is also accelerating. Transforming into the Orange Sovereign is a very useful ability. Lines of glowing text continue to appear in the void of space. Frowny face. Special reminder. Aside from transforming into a soul, the Magic Scale Dragon still has a few unique abilities. You have 2 choices. Firstly, you can choose one of these unique abilities to turn into your own thaumaturgy. Secondly, you can use the power of the Magic Dragon to devour all of them to replace your Magic Dragon bloodline ability. Attention! The Magic Dragon is a supreme soul artifact created by the bygone era humanity. If you choose to devour it, you will lose the power of the Magic Dragon bloodline and replace it with an unknown new ability. Please make your choice. Gu Shan chose the first option without hesitation. The ability of the Magic Dragon bloodline is undetectable, unstoppable, can suddenly activate, and can even devour the enemy's power after killing them. This kind of ability is truly terrifying. Gu Shan wouldn't give up on this ability. You've chosen to obtain a thaumaturgy. Attention, the following thaumaturgies have appeared during this absorption. You may choose from them. Chi. The notification abruptly stopped as the glowing text didn't appear. The orange cat's swinging tail stopped, feeling worried. What's going on? Did it crash? All of a sudden, all the glowing text disappeared. The War God UI's voice resounded. Frowny face. You've obtained the 1,000 Dragon Ancestors' inheritance. You are its chosen heir. Due to your existence, the Magic Scale Dragon's abilities are awakening. You may choose one from the following awakened inheritances of the Dragon Ancestor as your new ability. First, Magic Scale Armor. Description: when you transform into a dragon again, a layer of Magic Dragon Scales will grow over your body, granting you immunity to all elemental attacks, as well as immunity to curses, poisons, and diseases. This old man's body is made of violent iron. Come fight me. Second, Dragon Hammer. Description: when you transform into a dragon, your attack power will instantly increase by 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. You can attack 4 times in a row, but you'll be weakened for 1 breath's worth of time after that. I'll beat you to death. Third, Red Dragon Origin Hex. Chaos. Description: when the other party calls out your name, any form of reference is acceptable. If you agree, the other party's next attack will hit themselves. Guess who I am? Fourth, Dragon King Shield. Description: when you transform into a non-dragon form, a shield of laws will be hidden around your body, ensuring that you won't be killed in an assassination attempt. Invincible. How lonely. Gu Qing Shan quickly finished reading through them. These are all very powerful abilities, especially when the apocalypse is right around the corner. They're basically like charcoal in a snowstorm. Dragon Hammer isn't the first thing to consider, as a weakened state of 1 breath's worth of time isn't something that Gu Qing Shan can accept. Magic Scale Armor is limited to a dragon's body, while the Dragon King Shield is limited to a human's body. Both of them have their own limitations. The truly insidious one is still Red Dragon Origin Hex. Chaos. Reading through this ability's description, Gu Qing Shan was filled with indescribable emotions. Regardless of whether it's Azure Dragon Origin Hex, Binding, or Red Dragon Origin Hex, Chaos, these Dragon Curse type abilities are all very indescribable. No wonder the Thousand Dragon Ancestor felt that I'm too weak when he first saw me. When someone calls out my name, they want to beat me to death on the spot. On the other hand, when someone calls out my name, I can't let it be for nothing. The fact that I carry the power of the Magic Dragon's bloodline probably won't escape the Thousand Dragon Ancestor's eyes. Gu Qing Shan slowly realized. It seems the Thousand Dragon Ancestor wants me to inherit his legacy. I choose Red Dragon Origin Hex. Chaos, Gu Qing Shan replied. Are you sure? The War God UI asked. Very sure, the War God UI replied. Currently absorbing the above unique ability, converting it into your thaumaturgy. Please wait for 5 minutes. In addition, you've already absorbed the Magic Scale Dragon's soul origin power, and with the enhancement of the Orange Sovereign State, it's doubled. You've obtained 2 million soul points. The orange cat squinted his eyes, completely unmoved. I only need to wait for the thaumaturgy, so I need to bring Crow back as soon as possible. After all, I've been out for quite some time already. The orange cat turned back into Gu Qing Shan and quickly entered the white fog. He went to White City to pick up Crow. The two of them returned to the Roland Empire together. The Royal Palace. Inside the changing room, the two of them appeared from the fog. Everything was normal. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came. Sir Duke, have you finished changing? The maid's voice asked. Crow hurriedly replied. I'm done. I'm done. The female voice outside abruptly raised. Not good. You haven't come out for so long. Could it be that Sir Duke's body is unwell? Quickly open the door. Hearing that, both Gu Qing Shan and Crow quickly took off their armor. Gu Qing Shan was wearing a set of armor that Crow provided, which she returned to him. Crow immediately hid the armor without a trace. A second later, bam, the door was pushed open. The female came in with 6 maids and looked at the two of them. Sir Duke, you seem to have gone through a strenuous exercise, she said with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. Gu Qing Shan looked down. After taking off the armor, the formal attire he was wearing had already been torn to shreds, barely covering a few important parts. Not only did he fight earlier, but he also transformed into a dragon. So how could he possibly wear this formal attire? Gu Qing Shan used her hand to cover her vitals and calmly said, This formal attire is quite decent, but the quality is a bit lacking. Please give me another one. Chapter 1421. The ordinary-looking woman looked at Gu Qing Shan, then moved her gaze away from where his hands were covering her face and met his eyes. She casually said, I am Maria, the princess of the Roland Empire. There's something I want to discuss with you, but you should first wash away the stench of blood on your body and change into a suitable set of clothes before we talk. I think so as well, Gu Qing Shan replied. Maria clasped her hands behind her back and left. The 6 maids quickly returned with a new set of clothes, then also left. The door closed. Princess? What for? The duck plushie asked in confusion. Who knows? Gu Qingshan replied. Crow drew his rapier, then poked himself, then poked Gu Qingshan's body. Flames flickered from their bodies. The dust and stench of blood on their bodies completely faded away. All the filth has been burned away? What an intricate flame manipulation technique, Gu Qingshan asked with interest. The blood on his scalp had been completely burned away, but not a single strand of his hair had curled up or caught on fire due to the high temperature. Crow sounded a bit prideful. I just think that you don't need to use water for bathing. He glanced at the duck plushie, then said, You still need to wash. Wash yourself in the sun. The two of them separated and changed into their clothes. That's enough. Gu Qingshan raised her voice. Bam! The door was pushed open. The 6 maids came in. A few of them took Crow away to rest, while the others led Gu Qingshan up a flight of stairs to a garden in the sky. Princess Maria was sitting on a bench in the middle of the flowers, holding a book in her hand. Your Highness, he's here, one of the maids said. The princess waved her hand and gestured for Gu Qingshan to sit on the other side of the table. I don't like to waste time. Count Road, I have something I need to discuss with you, she said. Everyone else had been pushed away, leaving only her and Gu Qingshan in the sky garden. Seeing her serious expression, Gu Qingshan also changed her attitude and said, Please go ahead, Your Highness. Do you think the evil spirits are powerful? Maria asked. If they can no longer leave this world and have been possessed, they can no longer use the life talismans and sigil techniques that they were proficient in before. Their defeat is only a matter of time, Gu Qingshan said. But the war is now in a stalemate, isn't it? Maria said. Yes, this is a bit strange. Could it be that we're trying to preserve our strength? Gu Qingshan pondered. Maria looked at him and said, A few days ago, there were sudden changes in living beings all over the world. Road, you were among the first to discover it. That's right. In my town, 2 wraiths turned into monsters, Gu Qingshan said. He suddenly reacted and his expression changed. Could it be? Yes, the plague has already descended. Those top-notch experts are currently fighting against it, Maria said. Gu Qingshan released her spiritual sense and quickly scanned through the entire Holy Crown City. It was peaceful and peaceful. Do you find it strange that you haven't seen any mutated beings? Maria asked. That's right. What exactly is going on? Gu Qingshan didn't understand. Maria looked at him with a judging gaze and slowly explained. You're only 15 years old. The adults have decided to protect you, so they didn't send you into the chasm to fight. Chasm? That's right. The combatants have joined hands to create a chasm space. Any mutated infected beings or cities that were destroyed by the plague would immediately be transported to that chasm space. Due to the repulsion of the laws of this world, Maria continued. The true war is actually happening in that chasm space, Gu Qingshan realized and said in realization. So that's how it is, because the combatants are fighting on 2 fronts. They split their attention, allowing the wraiths to temporarily maintain a stalemate. His heart sank. Originally, I was confused. Even though the signs of the plague had already appeared, how did it return to normal in the past few days? So the situation had already deteriorated to this point. Count Road, I have a suggestion, Maria said. What is it? Let's be frank. I've actually seen that your true form is a dragon. Gu Qingshan was surprised and looked at her. She stared straight at Gu Qingshan. Yes, Gu Qingshan admitted. A victorious smile appeared on Maria's face as she continued. Earl Road, both you and I are not of age, so we are excluded from the real battle by the adults. However, if we bring out our true strength, we will definitely be qualified to participate in this battle. Gu Qingshan understood a bit. If this princess was willing to take him to participate in the war, Gu Qingshan was more than willing to agree. He gestured for her to continue. Sure enough, Maria said. Count Road, how about the 2 of us cooperate? Your Highness, how would you like to cooperate? Gu Qingshan asked. Maria replied. To enter the chasm space to fight, you must be at least 18 years old and possess sufficient strength. Both you and I have no issues with our strength. Only our age difference is a bit. So I have a compromise. What is it? Gu Qingshan asked. The summoner and his summoned being can be counted together, be it in terms of strength or age, Maria said. That way, both our ages would be sufficient, Gu Qingshan replied. Do you agree? Maria asked. I'm more or less in agreement, but I don't know how to do it. That's simple. You'll form a covenant with me and become my summoned mount. Gu Qingshan was stunned. You ride me? He asked. That's right. Although you're only a young dragon, you've already killed a magic scale dragon. You're worthy of me, Maria replied. Gu Qingshan went silent for a bit, then reluctantly asked, Can it be a summoning spell? Me, as your summoning companion? Maria scowled. You mean be my pet? I mean summoning companions, Gu Qingshan replied. That's called a war pet, and a pet at that, Maria confirmed. I don't look like a pet when I fight. Gu Qingshan was even more certain. The two of them stared at each other. Maria finally agreed. That's true. We should understand each other's strength better. This will help us better unite and fight against the plague monsters in the chasm. I agree, Gu Qingshan replied. Then, how about we exchange a few simple blows? Sure, Count. You go first. You're a lady. You go first, Gu Qingshan replied. If we really fight, should I use my bow or my fists? Or my swords? Gu Qingshan silently thought. Since her identity as a dragon has been exposed, as a dragon, it's acceptable for her to have other combat skills besides the bow and arrow. This woman seems very strong, so I'll go with swordsmanship. Gu Qingshan put her hand on the table and didn't move. Maria smiled and said, Count Road, if I go first, you won't have a chance. Please, Gu Qingshan replied. Maria reached her hand out and lightly swung. Bam! Maria slapped herself in the face. Both of them froze. Chapter 1422. Under the guidance of several maids, Gu Qingshan headed to the Sky Garden to meet with Princess Maria. At the same time, Crow was invited by several other maids to an item exchange room, where he was responsible for receiving the items that the Roland Empire bestowed upon Road. The list is here. Please take a look, one of the maids said. Ah, very well. Crow received the list. The maids bowed and retreated. Crow looked around, only to see that the door had already been closed, with no one else around. She could only take the list and check the items in front of her one by one. It couldn't be helped. The Count only had a single knight by his side, and he didn't even have a butler, so she had no choice but to do this. Crow took a look at the deeds, then carefully looked at the official titles and medals of the Empire. While she was reading, the door was suddenly opened. Princess Maria came in with a few maids in tow. Crow nonchalantly turned around and bowed. So it's your Highness. Maria observed her, then muttered, You're so beautiful. Thank you from the past until now. Even if there were some twists and turns, I've always agreed with this point of view of yours, Crow pridefully replied. Princess Maria's expression flickered a bit and asked, Back in Ramon Village, were you the one who took care of Count Rhodes' matters? Crow nodded. Ah, that's right. I was naturally the one who took care of such matters. Why? Because there was no one else by his side. The two of you are quite close. The princess glanced at her and said. Crow immediately appeared awkward and shook her head. No, we're brothers, really? Of course. I can sense that you're telling the truth. The princess' expression softened a bit and held Crow's hand. However, if the Count asked you to marry him, what would you choose? Crow resolutely replied. He would never do such a thing, the princess chuckled. All of a sudden, Crow's gaze froze and grabbed her rapier. The atmosphere instantly changed. Several maids stepped forward and stood in front of the princess. It's fine, the princess pushed them aside, still holding her hand, and asked, Why did you suddenly feel killing intent towards me? Crow replied in a low voice, You're not the princess. He had already drawn his sword. Princess Maria looked at him with great interest and asked, How can you tell that I'm not a princess? I've come into contact with more women than you have, so I've awakened the ability to distinguish between them. Every woman has a different scent. I can smell it, Crow replied. This time, it was Princess Maria's turn to look strange. That's impossible. I clearly left the changing room as fast as I could, and only came here now after avoiding it, she muttered. Don't even think about hiding anything from me. You're clearly different from that princess just now, Crow coldly laughed. The two of them fell silent. From his words, they could tell that something was wrong. Just now. Princess Maria's mind raced as she slowly understood something. Why did he only come now? Crow recalled what happened earlier and understood the entire situation. The next second, they asked each other in unison, "Where is the Count?" Not good. Princess Maria quickly took out a golden bell and shook it vigorously. The ringing of the bell echoed throughout the entire palace. Let's rewind time a little. While Crow was going through the inventory by himself, Gu Qingshan was having a simple exchange with Princess Maria in the Sky Garden. The sound of a slap resounded in the air. Princess Maria froze. Gu Qingshan was also surprised, but quickly realized. This was the effect of the Red Dragon origin hex. Sure enough, a line of glowing text had appeared on the war god, UI, frowny face. The other party has been affected by the Red Dragon origin hex. Confusion's effects, thus transferring the attack against you onto themselves. TCH. What good skill. Gu Qingshan was silently pleased, but didn't show it on her face. Your Highness, do you think a victor has been decided? Princess Maria went silent for a bit, then muttered, if I remember correctly, a rare dragon like the Black Dragon doesn't possess the power of a red dragon, and the Red Dragon origin hex that the Magic Scale Dragon possesses should only be at the level of Shadow, which is to weaken senses. Under Gu Qingshan's surprised expression, Princess Maria continued, I've read a few documents. Dragons are a race that suddenly appeared within the space vortex. Normally, they wouldn't have the power of a hex. Only the most talented and powerful dragons would be able to wield the Shadow origin hex, and the number of dragons who could truly wield a hex is almost as small as a feather. But you, Sir Count, after killing that Magic Scale Dragon, you managed to grasp its power and elevated it to the level of a hex. Princess Maria clapped her hands. How impressive! So you've seen the entire process of our battle. Your Highness, Gu Qingshan said. That's right. I was worried about letting a stranger enter the Empire, so I kept a close eye on him. I hope you understand saying so. Princess Maria stood up. Would you like to come with me to the Chasm World for a look? Gu Qingshan also stood up. A sense of danger appeared from his spirit sense. That was a world corrupted by the plague apocalypse. It would definitely be filled with danger. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan felt relieved. Of course, he said. Then let us take a look together. Princess Maria formed a hand seal inside her sleeves. A strange fluctuation quickly appeared from her body. Space itself began to change. The royal palace, the garden, the peaceful world faded away from their vision. Complete darkness. Following that, an unfamiliar and blurry world appeared at the end of their vision. It was quickly approaching the two of them. Gu Qingshan scowled, then abruptly drew the earth sword and placed it against Princess Maria's neck. Who exactly are you? He asked. Princess Maria revealed a puzzled expression. Gu Qingshan put her sword away, replaced it with the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword, and pressed it against the other party's neck. Lawbreaker. Bright red blood immediately flowed out from the princess's snow-white neck. Following that, her figure abruptly changed and turned into a maid. The maid laughed and asked, Road, I didn't lie at all just now. How did you notice that I'm not a princess? Gu Qingshan pressed her sword down and casually replied, You and I didn't sign a covenant. According to what you said, we aren't old enough to enter the Chasm World. That's the first reason. The second reason, when you performed the spatial technique just now, it was a cultivation-type technique. The maid sighed and said, I can't wait any longer, Road. I have to act as fast as I can. Even if I have to destroy these maid pawns that I've been hiding for countless years. I have to kill you. A figure wearing a red mask appeared from her body. Red Wraith. It was him. Who would have thought the Wraiths had also placed pawns in the Roland Empire's royal palace? That can't be right. Gu Qingshan spoke in a low voice. Everyone in the royal palace has been examined. No one has been affected by your technique. Of course not. These maids are clean. I've raised them for so many years. It was only after the royal palace's examination was over that they contacted me, Red Wraith replied. Gu Qingshan said, Such precious pawns, yet you used them on me. Red Wraith stared at her with a complicated expression. "It can't be helped. The more I come into contact with you, the more terrifying I find you to be. So, I finally decided that I can't wait any longer. Road, you're proud enough. This was originally a trap left for the Roland Emperor. Die with that." Red Wraith's figure disappeared in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. The maid immediately chanted a strange incantation. Boom! Her body directly exploded into a mass of blood, forming a red talisman in the void of space. Seeing this talisman, Gu Qingshan naturally knew that it wasn't a good thing. The shadow of death had completely devoured his spirit sense. But this place was neither the sky nor the earth. A different world was approaching him, as well as a wraith talisman drawn in blood that hovered in the air. In that split second, countless thoughts flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind, only to find that he didn't know what kind of world that was, nor did he know what kind of effect the talisman would produce. How should I deal with this? Who would have thought that even the royal palace of the Roland Empire would be hiding such a deadly trap? Gu Qingshan couldn't think of any other countermeasures, so he could only think of one. In an instant, a gold and silver light appeared from his body, moving along his arm to his palm. The image of a coin appeared in his hand. The coin of the earth. As soon as the coin appeared, the blood-colored talisman had already moved. The blood-colored light flashed and entered Gu Qingshan's body. Gu Qingshan felt his consciousness becoming blurry, so he used the last bit of time he had to say, "I'll probably need a bit of luck." The coin of the earth gave a powerful response. "True luck, activate." A golden light flew out from the coin, enveloped Gu Qingshan's entire body, and slowly entered his body. A second later, the world from extremely far away manifested around Gu Qingshan and enveloped him. Gu Qingshan collapsed to the ground and fainted. Chapter 1423. The bell resounded. Princess Maria and Crow appeared in the Sky Garden. Very quickly, Emperor Roland appeared out of thin air. More and more combatants gathered here, completely surrounding the Sky Garden. 10 minutes later, the truth was revealed. Many years ago, the Wraiths had hidden such a clean pawn in the Roland Royal Palace. Thinking of this, everyone felt fearful. Crow couldn't help but ask, "Where's Road? Where exactly was he sent?" Emperor Roland thought for a bit, then replied, "It can't be a fault. Road isn't old enough to enter. The old farmer suddenly disappeared, then quickly reappeared. I've memorized Road's life signature, and after looking around just now, he isn't in the Wraith's territory," the red-haired girl said. "Recently, our world seems to have been sealed by the power of the old gods, unable to connect to other worlds." "Not even the Wraith can do that," Crow immediately said. "If that's the case, he should still be in our world." "Strangely enough, I can't sense him." Princess Maria closed her eyes and said. The old farmer followed up. "That is indeed the case. His fluctuations aren't in this world. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to find him." Everyone exchanged glances. "He wasn't warped away, nor can he enter the Fault world. Where exactly did Road go?" Emperor Roland became a bit more serious, then said, "If Maria can't sense him, then he truly doesn't exist. Then the only possibility is..." The combatant's expressions turned solemn. "What's the only possibility?" Crow asked. The red-haired girl clicked her tongue, then waved her hand in the void of space and chanted, "By the might of the goddess, manifest the technique of the past." Balls of colorful, illusory light condensed into a ball and revolved around her hand. The red-haired girl stared closely at the clusters of light, then explained to everyone, "Just now, the Red Dragon Origin Hex, a spatial erosion technique, a forced warp technique, and a hidden layer leap technique appeared here. Let me see the coordinates. There's no mistaking it. It's indeed that place." Princess Maria sighed and told Crow, "We created a chasm world to forcefully isolate the plague zone from our world. While we were doing this, we discovered that the plague zone was at war with another chasm world, a monster world that had gone extinct long ago." "You mean Road was transported to that monster world?" Crow asked in a heavy voice. "That's right. Those monsters are powerful and vigilant. They only communicated with us through their thoughts and made an agreement to not invade each other's territory. If anyone were to enter the other's world without permission, the only outcome would be to be annihilated, Emperor Roland said. Crow drew his sword. Please send me there. I want to save Road. It's useless, child. The red-haired woman looked at Crow and spoke with pity. There was still one more technique I didn't explain just now in front of everyone. The red-haired woman gently moved her fingers and collected all the illusory balls of light, leaving only a blood-red ball of light. I didn't mention this spell just now. This is a spell that is extremely difficult to break. It can only be activated by sacrificing the caster's life. It can't be used in a normal battle, but if it is used, even we would have a hard time defending ourselves. Life Talisman. Evil Thoughts Burning Spirit. Those who are hit by this spell will enter a state of unconsciousness. Their occasional movements will all be extremely aggressive, and the spell will last for a total of 12 hours. The red-haired woman did not continue, but everyone already knew the answer. Trespassing into a monster's territory without permission and being extremely aggressive, the outcome was predictable. Wraith. Crow clenched the rapier in his hand tightly. The extinct world of monsters. This was a blood-red world. From the sky to the ground, various monsters that had never been seen before were madly fighting each other. They fought with everything they had, tearing at each other, activating their spells, and even going all out to perish together. From the looks of it, the plague had already begun to spread. Right at this moment, a crack appeared in the sky, from which a small black dust shot out. Gu Qing Shan. He had lost his consciousness, following the power of the wind, falling down amidst the battle of countless monsters. Inside his thoughts sea, several swords were arguing with each other. Gongzi can't move right now. I want to go out and save him. Shanu resolutely said. Don't move, the earth sword shouted in a low voice. Why? It's so dangerous outside. Shanu said. You can't act rashly. Gu Qing Shan is currently using true luck, so he's currently being watched over by fate. We are his swords, so we're also affected by the power of this technique. So if you go out, you'll be in trouble, the earth sword replied. Why would I be in trouble if I go out? Shanna didn't understand. Without Gu Qing Shan activating the swords, our usefulness is limited. Even if you have living's wisdom, would you be able to deal with those terrifying things outside? That's why the only thing we can rely on is true luck. This is a technique that we don't understand, and I'm afraid that your lawbreaker property will affect it. Then Gu Qing Shan would truly be in trouble, the earth sword said. But what do we do now? Shanna worriedly asked. The earth sword calmly replied. With me and Chao Yin here, you don't need to do anything for now. Just wait and see. Let Gu Qing Shan's four deities technique go against that life talisman. First Shanu turned to the other two swords. The Chao Yin sword vibrated in agreement. The heaven sword let out a light snore. Shanu sighed. The earth sword is right. True luck is a for deities technique with unparalleled power, so I need to be careful and not affect this technique. I can only wait for now. Gu Qing Shan was still falling. Amidst the battle of countless monsters, he was lucky enough to pass through every gap in the battle. Occasionally, he would be brushed by the shockwaves of various attacks to slow down his fall, swaying back and forth like a leaf. But he didn't notice any of this at all. Bam! A light sound could be heard. He landed on the ground, completely unscathed. The wind was blowing at his body, almost blowing him away. The ground was flying forward. No, this wasn't the ground, but a giant beetle that was several hundred miles in size. The beetle was flapping its wings at an extremely high frequency, trying its best to fly through the sky. It kept flying as fast as it could, until it finally left the battlefield filled with desperate screams and screams behind it. As soon as the beetle sighed in relief, a long and thin spike abruptly reached out from its back, piercing through its carapace and into its body. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The beetle screeched in despair, struggling to break free. Coincidentally, the place where the spike pierced through was very close to Gu Qing Shan. The impact from the distance woke Gu Qing Shan up. So, noisy, he muttered, still in a state of unconsciousness. A second later, he staggered to his feet and reached his hand out to grab something. The earth sword abruptly appeared from the void of space and was grasped by Gu Qing Shan. Gu Shan raised his sword and slashed at the spike with all his might. Earth's choice. The soul points displayed on the war god Ui jumped. A blinding arc of sword phantom flashed for a split second before disappearing. As the thin spike was struck, it quickly vanished into the void of space. The giant beetle felt like it had been pardoned, stabilized its body, and continued flying forward. Gu Shan swung his sword, shook his head, and fell back onto the carapace. He turned around, opened his eyes, and silently looked up at the sky. A voice suddenly resounded in his ears. "Thank you for saving me." "Who are you?" Gu Shan didn't have any self-awareness and angrily replied, "What are you asking? Do you want to die?" The voice went silent. A few moments later, the voice sounded again with a hint of seriousness. "You're right. Now isn't the time for idle chatter. We need to hurry and run for our lives." The giant beetle sped up, streaking across the sky like a streak of light, and escaped from the battlefield. Several terrifying attacks appeared behind it, but all of them missed because of its sudden acceleration. Gu Shan didn't know about any of this. He comfortably laid down on the carapace and slowly closed his eyes. He once again fell asleep. Chapter 14:24. Flying. The white clouds were constantly retreating to both sides. The giant beetle slowly left the battlefield and flew towards the depths of the world. Gu Shan was sleeping soundly on the beetle's back. The Wraith realm was truly difficult to deal with. Back in the Yama King realm, when Song Wuzhang's servant brought the golden chopsticks to kill Gu Shan had already experienced their power. Soul artifacts had causality laws, so the guy's hex would always hit, while life talismans used up their life force to activate, so they couldn't stop them at all. Song Wuzhang relied on life talismans to escape from both Gu Shan and Xie Daoling's pincer attack. They were truly unpredictable and hard to defend against. Red Wraith used up his maid's life force to activate this Wicked Thought's burning spirit hex with absolute confidence. However, Gu Shan was still alive and well even now. Perhaps he had more ideas at the time, but gave up in the end? No one knew. Time slowly passed. A minute later, the giant beetle flew out of the continent and reached the boundless ocean. It slowed down and sent its voice to Gu Shan. "I didn't get a chance to ask you just now. Do you hate seawater?" No answer. "If you do, I'll go down and report the situation myself. Can you wait here for me?" No answer. The giant beetle thought for a bit, then realized, "All right, I was wrong. I still haven't asked for your name?" Still no answer. The giant beetle felt troubled. "It's not convenient to say. Then how should I address you?" Gu Shan turned around and muttered in a daze. "Dragon. King of Atrocity Jail. Dragon King of Atrocity Jail? That sounds really cool," the giant beetle happily replied. Then, "Dragon King of Atrocity Jail, I'm going to dive into the water. Be careful." Gu Shan began to snore. The giant beetle observed her for a bit, then muttered, "She's already asleep. Seems like that attack just now took too much energy to save me. She used all of her power to destroy that terrifying spike." With that in mind, the giant beetle slightly moved the antennae on its head and pointed at Gu Shan. A few moments later, a circular bubble appeared out of thin air and enveloped Gu Shan. "Since you're asleep, I'm worried about leaving you here alone. You should come down with me." After the giant beetle finished speaking, it carried Gu Shan and dove into the sea. It dived into the depths of the sea. Soon, a voice rang out from the abyss. "Purple Star, why are you here?" The giant beetle answered, "The eastern battlefield has fallen. The 37th plague spread too quickly. I'm the only one who returned alive at the bottom of the sea." Many giant shadows stirred. "This is troublesome. 36 plagues have appeared. How are we going to deal with the 37th plague? I've been observing it for a long time and found out that this plague will make people crazy and want to kill. Through killing, they will become stronger. However, this is only a preliminary observation. We still need more information." Yes, the monsters were discussing a countermeasure. Suddenly, a sleepy voice muttered, This plague is called man-killer fiend. Those infected will become stronger through killing, but as long as they manage to overcome the initial frenzy of killing, they will slowly regain their senses. At this point, with reasonable guidance, they will be able to regain their autonomy. The monsters listened attentively and came to a sudden realization. Is that so? Is that so? So that's how it is. If that's the case, then let's... At this point, they suddenly realized and turned their gazes towards the giant beetle called Purple Star. On top of the beetle's hard shell, a young human man was snoring away. He was the one who spoke just now. "Purple Star, what's going on?" A monster with 8 arms asked. The giant beetle replied. "He descended from the sky, saved my life, and then fell asleep, seemingly recalling something." It added, "He's now my friend. Right, he's called Dragon King of Atrocity Jail." The 8-armed monster smirked. Dragon King of Atrocity Jail? How arrogant. A mere human dares to call himself that, the giant beetle replied. "Don't look down on humans. He had just told us the method to deal with the 37th plague." The monsters discussed among themselves. The 8-armed monster thought for a bit, then shouted towards the depths of the ocean, "Jurgard, what do you say?" A dignified voice resounded from the depths of the ocean. "I recall that we've told humans that no one is to enter our world. Even if he's called Dragon King of Atrocity Jail in the outside world, in our world, there will only be one outcome for him, and that is death." The giant beetle hurriedly retreated, shouting, "That can't be. He didn't even do anything." Gu Qing Shan was shaken by its movements, finally sitting up and muttering in a daze, "Who called me?" The 8-armed monster ignored her and shouted, "If that's the case, then I shall carry out the new punishment." Killing intent surged from its body as it acted. An earth-shattering explosion resounded. The surging tides at the bottom of the ocean rose to the surface, forming a tsunami that was several dozen meters tall. A gigantic corpse floated in the water, drifting along with the waves. This was the 8-armed monster's corpse. The monsters, for a while, none of the monsters could react in time. Monster A whispered, "Didn't it want to kill that human? Why did it use the sure kill ability on itself?" Monster B lowered its voice. "We don't know either, and we don't dare to ask. After all, it's already dead." The dignified voice resounded again from the depths of the ocean. "Human, you've angered me." Undercurrents were surging. The ocean continued to rise and fall. A twin-headed sea serpent rose from the depths of the ocean. Its entire body was covered in strange natural runes. Countless divine lights drifted around its body as it moved. According to the strict requirements of the Monster Codex, only unique monsters of the void are allowed to enter our world. Otherwise, all must die. The twin-headed sea serpent slowly coiled around itself, speaking with an authoritative tone. The giant beetle was trembling, but still managed to say, "You're being unreasonable. The Codex clearly states that only monsters that want to stay in our world must be unique. He doesn't want to stay in our world." The twin-headed sea serpent ignored the giant beetle. Its vertical pupils stared straight at Gu Qing Shan and continued, "I, Gerard, am a staunch supporter of the Monster Codex. Today, I will definitely kill this human." Gu Qing Shan was still in a daze, but the sea serpent's loud voice caused him to be unable to sleep. He staggered to his feet, muttering, "You're called, Gerard?" "That's me, Dragon King of Atrocity Jail. Today shall be the day of your death. The day of my death." Gu Qing Shan abruptly laughed maniacally. "You dare to disturb my sleep? Unforgivable. Unforgivable." His body shook slightly, leapt off the giant beetle's back, then abruptly turned into an endless black shadow. The black shadow slowly turned solid, turning into a dragon that was several hundred meters long. After fusing with the power of the 4th dragon, the black dragon's body had shrunk even further, but the ferocity it exuded had increased by several times. "Roar!" The dragon roared as it charged towards the twin-headed sea serpent. As the twin-headed sea serpent was about to receive it, it found that it was restrained in place, unable to move at all. It was shocked but quickly calmed down and channeled its most powerful power. Under everyone's watchful eyes, The twin-headed sea serpent abruptly unleashed waves of glowing seven-colored flames on its body. Hey, what's going on? The twin-headed sea serpent screamed in pain. The black dragon rushed forward, pressed it down into the water with one claw, then opened its maw to bite it. Blood dyed the ocean red. This black dragon's power was equivalent to 4 other dragons. The twin-headed sea serpent couldn't move, and after being struck by its own attack, as well as being continuously attacked by the black dragon, it was quickly dying. Delicious blood. The black dragon roared in frenzy. Just as the twin-headed sea serpent was about to be killed, a brilliant ray of light suddenly shot down from the sky into the ocean, manifesting as 2 hands of light. These 2 hands seemed to contain boundless power, easily separating the black dragon and the twin-headed sea serpent. Both the twin-headed sea serpent and the black dragon used various means, but none of them were able to stop this power at all. Dragon King of Atrocity Jail, you cannot kill it. Its crimes do not warrant death, a gentle voice resounded. A holy ray of light illuminated the water, illuminating the black dragon's body. Do whatever. Don't court death, the black dragon grumbled in dissatisfaction, then slowly closed its eyes in comfort and fell asleep while floating in the water. Hearing the gentle voice just now, the twin-headed sea serpent joyfully called out, "My king, please uphold justice for me. Kill this evil dragon that blasphemes the Monster Codex." The gentle voice replied, "It did not blaspheme the Monster Codex." The twin-headed sea serpent froze, then spoke in disbelief. "My king, although it isn't human, it is still a normal dragon. Only unique monsters are allowed to enter our world. Dragons do not have the right to remain," the gentle voice replied. "You are mistaken. I have already examined it just now. It is not a true dragon, but rather a super soul artifact used for war, a truly rare creature in fact. I can even say that within the infinite void, there is only a single dragon-type soul artifact like it. Because of that, it fits the rules and can remain in our world." Chapter 1425. The light shone into the depths of the ocean, illuminating the dark ocean with a faint blue hue. The gentle voice resounded again. "This black dragon appears to be a dragon-type life form, but it is actually a super soul artifact born for war. The one who created it must have put in a lot of effort. It's a unique existence. But I can sense an extremely powerful malicious hex on its body. I am currently busy commanding and dealing with the plague, so I have no time to deal with your matters. Bring Dragon King of Atrocity Jail to the sealed area to find me." The voice slowly faded away. The light rose from the ocean and disappeared without a trace. Only the black dragon's body was still enveloped in a layer of holy white light. The black dragon comfortably fell asleep inside this white light. If Guqin Shan was still conscious, he would see a few lines of glowing text appearing on the war god. UI, frowny face, you've received the Serpent King's blessing. The wicked thoughts burning spirit talisman you were afflicted with has been slightly dispelled. The duration of this curse has been shortened by 1 hour. The white light enveloping the black dragon's body slowly shrunk and dimmed. The black dragon seemed to have sensed it and quickly shrunk his body, returning to human form and leaving himself inside the light. A few moments later, the light finally disappeared. Guqin Shan muttered a few words of dissatisfaction before falling asleep again. The giant beetle swam over and carefully caught him. "I'm going to bring him to see the king. Who wants to come with me?" The giant beetle proudly asked. "Me. Count me in, meet to me." The monsters all hurriedly called out. According to the king, this life-form soul artifact had been struck by the hex. Being able to win against Jurgard while being afflicted by the hex, there was no need to doubt its strength. This was his most difficult time. If I don't take this chance to curry his favor and befriend him, would I have to wait until later? Once he recovers, why would he bother with me? The giant beetle was about to leave with Guqin Shan on its back when it recalled something and asked Jurgard, "Are you coming?" The twin-headed sea serpent scoffed. "Bringing this guy to see our king will only cause him trouble. You should know, he's already having a hard time." After a moment of silence, the giant beetle said, I'm just following the king's orders. After that, it carried Gu Shan and floated up to the surface of the sea. Behind it, dozens of monsters followed closely. The monsters floated to the surface of the sea and looked around. The sky had already turned dusky yellow. Dark gray, dark green, and dark red mist streaked across the sky like meteors, continuously falling into the depths of the earth. Another 7 or 8 new plagues. The giant beetle groaned. Strange, we've already defeated several dozen plagues. Why are there still new plagues appearing? One of the monsters asked in confusion. Gu Shan seemed to have heard this. She turned over on the shell and murmured, "Dozens of them are nothing. There are more than 1,000 of them." The monsters looked at each other, speechless. Dealing with the dozens of plagues that had appeared previously had already caused everyone to suffer heavy losses. If there really were more than 1,000 plagues, wouldn't they be doomed? "He's talking in his sleep," the giant beetle said. The monsters looked at Gu Shan. "He slept soundly. So he's just talking nonsense. That's good, that's right. I was scared to death just now." They heaved a sigh of relief. The giant beetle went silent for a bit, then confirmed the direction, flapped its wings, and abruptly sped up. The monsters quickly followed. After flying for about 10 minutes, Gu Shan suddenly said, "There's a terrible stench ahead. Don't go any further." The giant beetle paused. After thinking for a few seconds, it flapped its wings, drew an arc in the air, and flew to the other side. The monsters had no choice but to follow. "Oi, Purple Star, you're going too far like that," one of the monsters called out. "That's right, he's talking in his sleep," another monster replied. Purple Star didn't say anything and continued to fly around. After flying for a few more minutes, Gu Shan laid on top of the shell and pointed, "That way, that way." The giant beetle immediately flew in the direction he pointed. At this point, a monster with a giant shell on its back jumped out and stopped the giant beetle, loudly calling out, "Purple Star, why aren't you taking the deep space cableway?" The giant beetle hovered in the air and replied, "The deep space cableway might be a bit off. I'll listen to Dragon King of Atrocity Jail. He's asleep. Not to mention, the deep space cableway is heavily guarded. It's very safe. Flying around randomly like that is only delaying time." The monster berated him. The giant beetle didn't know how to explain. The monster continued, "You're letting down King's expectations. I can't accept this. Quickly give Dragon King of Atrocity Jail to me. I'll take him to the deep space cableway and quickly meet King." Before the giant beetle could understand the meaning of this, a sleep-talking voice resounded from behind him. "Who's talking?" The giant beetle replied, "A snail, a snail?" The other person repeated, "Yes, a snail. Why is it able to remain in this world?" The giant beetle explained, "It's very powerful, but that's not the main point. It's the only snail in history that can fart, and because of this unique characteristic, it has the right to remain in this world, huh?" The person on his back seemed to sneer coldly and raise his hand to point out a finger. "What does that mean?" The monsters were all curious. Gu Shan abruptly sat up and shouted, "Snail, I want to bake it. Make it together with fish and butter pancakes. Together with some chilled liquor, it'll be a top-notch delicacy." After shouting, she yawned, slowly laid back down, closed her eyes, and stopped moving. The monsters froze. "We're clearly trying to steal the right to carry Dragon King of Atrocity Jail to meet King. Why? Why did we suddenly talk about eating?" They suddenly recalled how this person turned into a dragon earlier and pinned the twin-headed snake to the ground, chewing on it until his mouth was full of blood while shouting delicious blood. Dragon King of Atrocity Jail's recipe includes snails? He even eats twin-headed sea snakes. Could it be an omnivore? That's right, that makes sense. That makes sense. The monsters all felt a chill down their spines, not daring to even breathe too loudly. The snail monster was trembling in fear, then twisted its body to make way. Indeed, it wanted to please King, but it definitely didn't want to offer itself as a cooking ingredient. None of the monsters dared to stop the giant beetle. No one could be sure whether or not Dragon King of Atrocity Jail's recipe actually included them. The giant beetle wasn't worried about this at all. so it flapped its wings and continued flying forward. Following that, as long as Gu Qing asked to change directions, the giant beetle would do as she said. About half an hour later, they suddenly ran into a group of fleeing monsters. The giant beetle called them back, then hurriedly asked, "Strange, where did you come from?" The deep space cableway. The monsters were still panicking, breathing heavily as they replied. "What happened?" the giant beetle asked. Over a dozen types of plague descended on that place at once. The defense line instantly collapsed. The monsters all went silent. We almost lost our lives. It's a good thing we didn't take that path. Everyone felt even more reverence towards Dragon King of Atrocity Jail. About half an hour later, the group of monsters finally arrived at their destination. This was a vast expanse of white snow, with withered trees all over the place, covered in a layer of white frost. Behind the forest, there were lofty mountains and precipitous ridges with no end in sight. The monsters landed far away, carefully maintaining their distance from the frost on the ground. "The white frost on the trees has increased again," one of the monsters commented. "That's right. I wonder how much longer our world can last," another monster commented. The monsters were all worriedly staring at the withered forest. Every single tree was covered in a thick layer of pure white frost. A gust of wind blew. The chill was bone-chilling. The giant beetle slowly moved forward and told the withered forest, "King, I've brought Dragon King of Atrocity Jail here." A holy white light descended from above and struck Gu Qingshan's body. As soon as Gu Qingshan showed an expression of comfort, the light quickly disappeared. A gentle voice then resounded. "The number of plagues I can deal with has already reached its limit, but the number of plagues suddenly increased by several hundred, so I had no choice but to use my energy to manifest them on the surface of my body. But these plagues seemed to be able to communicate with one another. They fused with my energy to form some sort of sealing power that sealed me away. Because of that, I no longer have enough power to dispel his hex, the monsters." "King, are you all right?" the giant beetle asked caringly. The gentle voice sighed. "It's hard to say. I'm afraid I'm also—" Gu Qingshan abruptly jumped up and shouted towards the withered forest. "Light! I want that kind of light. Where's the light? Why didn't you give it to me?" "I'm sorry. My power isn't enough to dispel your hex." The gentle voice spoke apologetically. "No, I want that kind of light. If you don't give it to me, I'll eat all of your power." Gu Qingshan turned into an orange cat and leapt towards the white frost. Chapter 14:26. The orange cat quickly ran forward. He was heading towards the layer of snow on the ground. The gentle voice hurriedly called out, "Be careful, don't come any closer." The orange cat fiercely uttered a meow in reply. He didn't care about anything else. "In short, if you don't give me light, I'll eat your energy. There's so many snow-white energy crystals on the ground. Do you think you can fool me?" The orange cat stopped at the edge of the layer of snow and took a large bite. Ice, cold, and also a bit of pleasure and something else. Were those things? The orange cat only tasted them for a split second and didn't think any further. Who cares? They're edible anyways. The orange cat continued to gorge himself without looking up. The monsters were all stunned. The gentle voice also didn't say anything for a while. Time slowly passed. The orange cat became more and more excited as he ate, slowly eating until a small circle was formed. "Are you all right?" The gentle voice carried a hint of disbelief. The orange cat stood up on his hind legs, then began to tap dance with his two hind paws on the ground. After that, he went back to eating the snow again. This time, the surroundings became even more silent, so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. A few moments later, the withered forest began to fluctuate. A cluster of gentle light appeared in the forest, as if it had some kind of gravitational force that pulled all the snow towards it. The thick layer of snow was lifted into the air and gathered towards the cluster of light. At the same time, various destructive scenes manifested one after another, flashing through the void of space at blinding speeds. Layers of snow gathered, covered, compressed, and finally formed a snowball about the size of a thumb. When this snowball was formed, about 10% of the snow in the forest had already been reduced. The light enveloped the snowball and slowly hovered in front of the orange cat. As the orange cat saw the holy white light, he happily meowed. He held the glowing snowball with both paws and swallowed it. A second later, a layer of frost appeared on the orange cat's body, causing him to freeze like an ice sculpture. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. He still didn't move. "No, did I harm you?" the gentle voice asked. All of a sudden, the orange cat trembled. Burp. The orange cat let out a loud burp, then began to shake his body. The thin layer of snow on his body was shaken off. Compared to the ice and snow it had eaten before, this layer of ice and snow was nothing. At the same time, lines of glowing text quickly appeared in front of the orange cat's eyes. This is an incredible coincidence, and also the ultimate blessing of luck. This is the manifestation of the true God's power. Since you've transformed into the orange sovereign and possess the divine ability, power absorption, you can completely devour seals that are purely made of energy. You've devoured a unique item, the seal of endless vitality mixed with various plagues. The power you obtain from the seal will be converted into double soul points. Because the plague isn't pure energy, you will get stomachache. Please note that you will get a stomachache. The orange cat ignored these notifications. It was unconscious and only knew that it was eating happily. Meow, 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 meow. The orange cat rubbed his stomach and shouted arrogantly. The gentle voice said to the monsters, "Do any of you understand cat language?" "Me." A green tiger raised its paw. "What is it saying?" The gentle voice asked. The tiger lowered its head, pressed its ear against its back, and fearfully said, "King, I'm a bit afraid to say it. It's trying to offend you." "It's fine. Tell me quickly," the gentle voice said. The green tiger paused for a bit, then clenched its teeth. "It's saying, quickly serve this great one's food, or this great one will destroy your restaurant." The monsters all gasped in surprise. The gentle voice didn't say anything. Within the withered forest, a cluster of holy light that was even brighter appeared. This cluster of light was even more attractive than the previous one. All the ice and snow in the forest began to fly up, circling around the cluster of light. They slowly solidified into a cluster, then shrunk. A few moments later, a cluster of snow that was identical to the one from before appeared. However, as soon as this cluster of snow appeared, the amount of ice and snow in the forest decreased by at least 30%. Some of the trees were visibly recovering. The withered leaves slowly regained a hint of green. The cluster of light that carried the ice and snow once again appeared in front of the orange cat. "Meow." The orange cat happily called out and swallowed the ice and snow in one gulp. This time he didn't even chew. Instantly, a thicker layer of ice and snow began to condense on the orange cat's body, turning him into an ice sculpture. 1 breath, 2 breaths. The sound of ice and snow cracking resounded. Crack, 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 crack. Bam! The orange cat broke through the ice and quickly shook his fur. He happily called out, "Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow." "What did he say?" the gentle voice asked. The green tiger's face was a bit flushed, but his voice was as soft as a mosquito's. He said that it's delicious. Sing a song for this great one, and give me another portion. The gentle voice hesitantly asked, "I don't know how to sing. Which one of you can?" The monsters exchanged glances and shook their heads. The gentle voice became serious and told the monsters, "Pay attention. This is our best chance to fight against the apocalypse. Do not hide anything. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." Hearing this tone, the monsters understood that King was serious this time. "We're all monsters. Who can sing? That's right. I've never paid attention to this before. Nor have I ever practiced. I can fight a bit. Eat and sleep is also something I can do, but I can't sing. Quickly think who exactly can." The monsters all spoke at once. All of a sudden, one of the monsters loudly said, "I remember the green tiger sang a song during his birthday." All the monsters turned to the green tiger. The green tiger stuttered, "I only know one part, and I can't remember the key very well. I'll tell you clearly." He is currently under a wicked curse, acting on his own whims. So for the sake of saving our world, you must make him happy," the gentle voice ordered. Yes, my king the green tiger took a deep breath, stood in the cold wind, and began to sing to the orange cat. "May your life be as long as the heavens, and may your birthday be happy. This day will always be like this. Every year will be like this. Congratulations, congratulations." The surroundings were completely silent. All the monsters were seriously listening. The orange cat narrowed his eyes, perked up his ears, then suddenly called out, "Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow." The green tiger felt like he was struck by a heavy blow and couldn't utter a single sound. "What did he say?" the gentle voice asked. The green tiger replied, "He said that I'm out of tune, but it's unexpectedly quite amusing, then it's fine. Continue to sing as he says," the gentle voice ordered. Since the king had given the order, the green tiger had no choice but to continue singing. "May your life be as long as the heavens, and may your—" At the same time, a cluster of holy light that was as warm as sunlight rose from the withered forest. All the remaining ice and snow gathered towards this cluster of light. The gentle voice muttered, "I shall soon be free from my burden and regain my power." The entire forest was now clearly green. Vitality had arrived. By the time the green tiger sang for the third time, the cluster of ice and snow enveloped in holy light had once again arrived in front of the orange cat. The orange cat opened his mouth and directly swallowed this seal that was a mixture of plague and pure power. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared. "Frowny face, following your ingestion, you've obtained a total of 100 million soul points. Your resistance against the plague has been increased. All plague that you've ingested has passed through the orange immune system's reaction and can no longer harm you. Special attention." Chapter 14:27. All the ice and snow had been eaten by the orange cat. The frosty white that originally covered the entire withered forest had completely disappeared. Gradually, an indescribable feeling manifested within the forest, causing the spectating monsters to feel an indescribable sense of fear. A bright green light appeared on a single withered leaf, instantly igniting the entire forest. In an instant, the originally deathly trees all regained their vitality and exuded boundless vitality. In the void of space, the glittering green light was almost visible to the naked eye. "The seal has completely dissipated." The gentle voice lightly resounded. Its voice seemed to contain the vicissitudes of life and complicated emotions. At the very next moment, the entire forest seemed to have been set ablaze. All the greenery turned into intense heat that manifested as a holy light that reached all the way to the sky. The light abruptly expanded and spread. Heaven and earth became white. A powerful presence that looked down upon all living beings manifested. All the monsters knelt down, madly worshipping it while shouting, "Our king has awakened." At this point, another voice cut in, "Meow, meow, meow." The orange cat reached his paw out, patted his chest, and called out in a prideful manner. Without waiting for the gentle voice to ask, the green tiger hurriedly translated. "King, he said that it was thanks to him." In the sky, the gentle voice with a hint of laughter resounded. Indeed, it was thanks to him. While they were talking, a storm suddenly manifested in the sky. A cluster of blinding white light descended from the sky and abruptly enveloped the orange cat. Boom! The storm-like air currents continued to rage. The orange cat's fur was all messed up. His whiskers were swaying like they were dancing. Meow, meow, meow. The orange cat squinted his eyes and moaned in pleasure. He didn't notice that lines of glowing text had appeared in the void of space. "Frowny face, you've received the chaos. Serpent's King. Ouroboros' baptism of rebirth. Life talisman. Wicked thoughts, burning spirit has been completely dispelled. You've regained consciousness." Instantly, the orange cat's eyes opened wide, as if he was shocked. He hurriedly looked around, only to see a group of monsters standing at a distance. A holy white light was shining down from the sky. "Where am I? What am I doing? What exactly is? Before he could ask any further, the orange cat noticed something amiss. A notification popped up on the War God UI. Note that you will expel the residue of the plague from your body. This is a harmless process, but you will only have the physique of an ordinary cat during this process. Please be careful not to become numb from squatting. Are you numb from squatting? The orange cat was doubtful. Suddenly, a strong sense of foreboding descended from his heart. Ouch! My stomach hurts. Almost immediately, the orange cat couldn't hold himself back. Its body flickered as it used ground shrink to rush towards a ravine several hundred miles away. No, I can't hold it in anymore. The orange cat reappeared deep inside the ravine, crouching on the ground with both paws as he hurriedly called out, "Meow." It quickly dug a pit of suitable size and sat on it. Piu. The fart had only been heard once, and then clatter, 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 clatter. It was simply a mountain torrent. The orange cat was shocked by the amount of shit he had just excreted. Suddenly, another feeling that made it wary surfaced in its heart. Why did the working part feel so cold? It's too cold. It's like a block of ice. The orange cat shivered uncontrollably as all his fur stood on end. But the mountain torrent was still raging. Not even a god could stop this from happening. The orange cat had no choice but to straighten his tail, use his paws to support himself, and use all of his willpower to endure the coldness of his excrement. This can't be right. Why would a wraith talisman have such an effect? The orange cat was confused, looked at the UI in the void of space, and silently asked, "Meow, meow, 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 meow." A line of text appeared on the War God UI, frowny face for the UI. Answering questions from animals is very troublesome, so it will be displayed in light and shadow. This is considered a heavy workload, so you will need to pay extra. This answer will cost 5,000 soul points. Would you like to accept? This is taking advantage of the situation. Although the orange cat was dissatisfied, he was a bit numb, and since he really wanted to know what happened, he had no choice but to compromise. "Meow," the orange cat urged. The UI replied, "Very well. You will be informed of what happened in the past few hours." 5,000 soul points were deducted. Very quickly, various scenes appeared in front of the orange cat's eyes. From the moment he entered this world, up until the moment he started feasting on the ice seal, he didn't miss a single detail. The orange cat carefully watched and quickly understood what had happened. Meow. He sighed helplessly. Thanks to the true luck technique, this was already the best possible outcome. At this point, lines of glowing text appeared. Frowny face attention. Attention. The hex has completely disappeared. Your true luck technique still has 3.5 hours remaining. Make good use of it. The orange cat's eyes lit up. That's right. I still have 3.5 hours of true luck left. I need to hurry up and think of a way to resolve the plague apocalypse. The orange cat abruptly stood up, then crouched down again. Not good. I haven't finished pooping yet. Over half an hour later, the orange cat used his numb paws to barely move his body. He limped out of the crater, then formed a hand seal without turning around. Dust and dirt moved to cover the crater. "Oh," the orange cat sighed in relief. "Finally, I feel better." He returned to human form and returned to Gu Shan's original appearance. All of a sudden, a joyful voice resounded in his thoughts. "See, Gongzi, you're finally fine." Gu Shan froze. It's over. The entire process of him losing face was witnessed by the 3 swords, not missing a single frame. Gu Shan quickly adjusted his emotions and appeared confused. "Shanu, what exactly happened?" Gu Shan, "Don't you remember?" The Earth Sword asked. Gu Shan replied, "That's right. I only remember that I was hit by the hex, then I was standing right here. What exactly happened in between?" Saying so, he looked around with a serious expression. "What exactly is this place? Why am I here?" He muttered in confusion. Shanu said, "It seems Gongzi's hex has been completely dispelled. That's great. It's like this." The Earth Sword patiently explained. Very quickly, Gu Shan listened to what happened just now again. He sighed deeply and said, It's all thanks to true luck. I won't take such a risk again, risk? The Earth Sword asked. That's right, when I was in Ramon Village, I searched through that Wraith's memories, but only found very little knowledge and skills about Wraith. All of them were prepared for a performing life steel body swap, and there were only a few fixed combat skills. The swords didn't say anything and silently listened to him. It's like a production line mech that's been given a mission. All of its components are constructed around that mission. Although it's useful, outsiders like us can't see through the Wraith civilization. Even Song Wuzhong had only plundered a lot of things from different worlds and grasped a few more spells, but he hadn't actually come into contact with the core secrets of the Wraith realm. At this point, Gu Qingshan's gaze became profound. Red Wraith is different. I can sense that he's unique. He himself said that there are two rulers of the Wraith realm, a heavenly king and a Wraith, and he is the Wraith. In this timeline, the people of the Wraith realm still haven't found the Heavenly King, so Red Wraith is the true ruler of the Wraith realm. Such an identity is worth taking a risk. A Xiao sound resounded from the void of space, seemingly agreeing with Gu Qingshan's opinion. Gu Qingshan turned to the void of space and said, Adorable! It's time to see the results of our efforts, Xiao 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 Xiao. Instantly, a blood-colored talisman manifested from thin air and shot towards the void of space. Nothing happened after that. This was a spell attack that had no target, so it wouldn't harm anyone. Gu Qingshan waited until the blood-colored light completely disappeared into the horizon before she reached her hand out and pressed it against the void of space. On the War God UI, the icon representing War God skills abruptly lit up. Lines of glowing text appeared. Frowny face, the jade pendant, adorable, had performed the following skills: life talisman, wicked thoughts, burning spirit. Would you like to learn this life talisman skill? Chapter 1428. A long line of text appeared on the War God UI, frowny face, as the skill performed by Adorable was borrowed. The following explanation is hereby given. When the next skill is borrowed, the traces of the previous skill will disappear completely, so you can only learn the most recent skill from the Jade Pendant. It was not hard to understand. Gu Qingshan glanced at it and said, Understood. A final line of text appeared on the War God UI, frowny face, to comprehend life talisman. Wicked thoughts, burning spirit, 100 million soul points. Gu Qingshan was startled and asked, Why do you need so much soul points? The War God UI replied, Because you haven't practiced any life talisman techniques. A large amount of origin power of the soul will be required to decompose, learn, reconstruct, and complete the life talisman. Through estimations, it will be around 100 million. Gu Qingshan asked again, If I learn the life talisman technique, will the soul power required for this technique gradually decrease like before? Indeed, the War God UI replied. Gu Qingshan showed a look of reminiscence. Something like this had happened before. For example, when he was comprehending the divine skill Ground Shrink, he trained hard for a long time. As he became more proficient in his techniques, the amount of soul power he needed to comprehend his techniques decreased. So the correct way to put it is, if he had a deep understanding of the skill, then the cost of learning the skill would be reduced accordingly. Unfortunately, the talismans in the cultivation world were called spiritual talismans and were mainly used to release spells, while the Wraith Realm's talismans are life talismans, which require vitality to activate. The entire Wraith Realm is a mystery, so it's almost impossible to understand their civilization, knowledge, and skills. That was why he didn't have the chance to learn other life talismans, nor could he gain a deeper understanding of this art through practice. Gu Qingshan was slightly hesitant. 100 million soul points to learn the Wraith's life talisman technique. Was it worth it? He thought for a moment and quickly made a decision. System, I want to pay 100 million soul points to comprehend Wicked Thoughts, Burning Spirit on the War God UI. His remaining soul points value jumped. Half of his 200 million soul points were instantly erased. The War God UI's voice responded, Soul Force received. Beginning to consume soul origin energy to break down this life talisman and record it. Please note that this is a civilization domain that has never been understood before. The interface needs some time. 1 hour later, you will obtain all the knowledge related to this life talisman. Gu Qing Shan gladly said, "Thank you." This was Red Wraith's life talisman. If the War God UI could disassemble this talisman and obtain a large amount of knowledge from it, Gu Qing Shan believed that 100 million soul points wouldn't be a loss. That is not the case. The Chaos Serpent's King sounded a bit bitter. I have only found a way to temporarily prolong my feeble existence. Prolong your feeble existence? Gu Qing Shan doubtfully asked. I discovered that the majority of apocalypses share a common characteristic. That is, when they sense that the world is destined to be destroyed, they would no longer summon other apocalypses. They would simply go along with the current state of affairs and silently wait for everything to end. The Chaos Serpent's King replied. Please elaborate further, Gu Qing Shan solemnly said. The Chaos Serpent's King replied. The world that we currently reside in is actually a destroyed world. Furthermore, we require all entities that enter this world to be unique individuals, which would confuse the apocalypses. Gu Qing Shan suddenly realized and continued. Because they are all unique individuals, there is no chance for them to reproduce. Not to mention that this world has already been destroyed, so when the apocalypses encounter this world, they would assume that this world will be destroyed sooner or later, so they would no longer attack it. That is indeed the case. You are very smart, the Chaos Serpent's King replied. Gu Qing Shan felt like a storm was raging in her mind. So this is possible. This is the same as deceiving the apocalypses, but not deceiving them at the same time. Because individuals that are too unique wouldn't be able to form a clan, nor would they have the chance to reproduce, fated to die alone in this world. And the world was indeed heading towards complete destruction step by step. However, this process would be very slow, and those unique individuals would be able to survive, at least for a while. To think that you could think of such a method, I am truly impressed, Gu Qing Shan sincerely said. The Chaos Serpent's King dejectedly replied. In the end, we still lost to the apocalypses. We will die sooner or later. Gu Qing Shan fell silent. The Chaos Serpent's King also didn't say anything. What exactly are the apocalypses? Why do the apocalypses keep appearing, spreading, and destroying everything? If all the awaitings die, then what about Lady Fusey? She is the companion of time, able to travel through the river of time and pry into secrets that others cannot. Furthermore, what about the Earth Creator's fate in that parallel world? In truth, Gu Qing Shan still hadn't fully discovered the true power of the coin of the Earth, because he was too weak. But the Earth Creator was different. It was too powerful. It was able to fully utilize true luck of fate, while the Fusey was able to borrow the power of time. Are the other pillar gods still alive? Gu Qing Shan recalled that when she became the Earth God, the soul artifacts manifested by the other 3 holy pillars came to bear witness. The Wind God soul artifact was a blue key, the key of the wind. If the Wind God of the 4 pillar gods was still alive, they could even use the power of the key of the wind to travel anywhere within the space vortex. This way, the 3 great laws of time, space, and fate would all be on their side. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to fight against the apocalypse, but wouldn't they be able to survive even that? With that in mind, Gu Qing Shan couldn't help but try asking, did all of your companions die? Yes, I'm sure of that, the Chaos Serpent's King replied. Gu Qing Shan's thoughts turned and asked, then what about your enemies? Enemies? The Chaos Serpent's King pondered. Those fellows from the Order faction seem to have escaped to the eternal abyss. Too much time has passed. Let me think. The inner plane has been destroyed, but at the bottom of the eternal abyss, there's a passage that leads to the destroyed inner plane, but something terrifying seems to be guarding that passage. Because of that thing, the eternal abyss can only remain dormant, not even daring to awaken. How laughable. The eternal abyss is the most powerful primordial monster of the space vortex. Yet it is afraid of that thing. Gu Qing Shan's heart skipped a beat. There is a terrifying demonic creature at the bottom of the abyss. Boss had also mentioned this before, but at the time, Boss's expression wasn't very good, as if he had no intentions of returning to the inner plane. Gu Shan could sense that Boss had his own thoughts. But more than anything, he felt helpless. Helpless, unable to do it. The chaos, Serpent's King continued. Once the Eternal Abyss used everything they had to come up with a weapon to deal with that terrifying thing, Gu Shan silently sighed. She already knew what weapon it was, but still asked, "What was it?" The chaos, Serpent's King's voice went silent for a bit before answering. It was the protector of extinction, the sword of destiny, the key to all worlds, the demon-warding weapon at the bottom of the endless abyss, the legendary twin swords. Heaven and earth, the demon-warding weapon at the bottom of the endless abyss. Gu Shan muttered. The chaos, Serpent's King continued. Unfortunately, the sword known as Earth was completely destroyed. Gu Shan cut in. He didn't make another one? This weapon carries a unique destiny, carrying the laws of causality and mysteries with it, and would only appear once in the long river of history, the destruction. Serpent's King sighed emotionally. Speaking of which, at the final moments before the apocalypse destroyed everything, there might have been one or two members of the Order faction who managed to stop that terrifying creature at the bottom of the endless abyss and entered the destroyed inner plane alive, or none of them. Gu Shan immediately asked, "Why did they go there?" "I don't know," the Chaos Serpent King replied with a confused expression. Chapter 1429. Gu Shan sighed. So this was what the extinct monster world was all about. It was a parallel world that was heading towards destruction. Only a few strange monsters were left, under the leadership of the Chaos Serpent's King, struggling at death's door. As for the Plague World, this world was destroyed by the Plague Apocalypse. There were no longer any living beings left. In short, the Monster World and the Plague World were both hopeless parallel worlds. Parallel worlds. Gu Shan thought about what the black spiky crab had said. The black spiky crab once said that the parallel world was just a smokescreen. But it also said that it was not very clear what was going on. This was really confusing. Gu Shan shook her head. The current information was not enough to analyze the truth of the matter, so it was better to think of a way to solve the plague apocalypse while he still had true luck. "Sir, I wanted the Plague World to take a look, so I won't be staying for long," Gu Shan said. His gaze landed on the lake that was flickering with holy light. From the lake, the Chaos Serpent's King's voice resounded. "You alone won't do. Only by working together with me would we be able to win against this apocalypse." Gu Shan was slightly startled and asked, "Shall we join forces?" "That's right. I've regained my power. Now, I can turn the plague into a form of energy," the Chaos Serpent's King said. "What about me?" Gu Shan asked. "You are in charge of eating," the Chaos Serpent's King said. "Eat." Gu Shan's body froze, then couldn't help but recall everything that happened when she turned into the orange cat and shivered from the bottom of her heart. Even now, a certain part of him was still cold. Was he going to use this method to save the world? The voice of the Chaos Serpent sounded again. "Before you appeared, I had personally crossed the border between the two worlds and headed towards the world of plagues, where I found the source of plagues, Dragon King of Atrocity Jail. I can sense resistance against the plague from your body. You should be able to enter the center of the plague, just like I did, but that world is filled with various monsters created by the plague. Your strength is not enough to fight against them, so I will accompany you to eliminate those monsters that attack you." After saying these words, the holy power in the sparkling lake became even purer and more boundless. Gu Shan quietly sensed it and did not speak for a while. Chaos Serpent's King, Ouroboros. Gu Shan couldn't figure out why it was a jungle for a while, and then a lake for a while, but she could deeply feel its power. The Saint Spirit world was a mortal world under the jurisdiction of the deities of the inner plane. It was extremely powerful. However, the Saint Spirit world was not the power of the gods themselves. Naturally, it cannot be compared to the Chaos Serpent's King, Ouroboros. Perhaps its help was part of the real luck. If that's the case, time waits for no one. "Let's go," Gu Shan said. The lake water did not reply. However, the entire lake turned into a blazing white light that soared into the sky and fell onto Gu Shan's body. Amidst the surging white light, He floated up. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face Chaos Serpent King. Ouroboros has attached itself to you. This isn't a harmful state. It's a battle form. Gu Shan skimmed through and silently nodded. My body has been completely destroyed, leaving only pure spirit and power that requires me to attach myself to you. Do you mind? The Chaos Serpent King's voice resounded. I don't mind, Gu Shan replied. Very well. I'll take you there, the Chaos Serpent King said. The white light flashed and disappeared. Boom! The sound of intense wind could be heard. Gu Shan was moving forward within the white light, passing through mountains and seas, passing through all kinds of scenery as he flew towards the end of the world. He couldn't see anything at all. As he flew at such a high speed, everything around him transformed into lines that passed by him and retreated backward. About 10 minutes later, his flying speed began to slow down. The white light descended and stopped outside the ruins of a city. This is the border between two worlds. Pay attention. I will now inform you of the source of the plague. The Chaos Serpent King spoke from within the white light. A certain scene appeared in front of Gu Shan's eyes. It was a desert filled with faint yellow fog. The fog had obscured every corner of the desert, making it impossible to see what was inside. Gu Shan quickly sensed the direction of the desert. From the ruins of the city in front of him, it would take a long and arduous journey to reach the desert. Do you know the direction? The Chaos Serpent King asked. I do, Gu Shan replied. I will be doing two things. The first is to turn the plague in your way into ice and snow. You need to eat it as soon as possible to produce antibodies, the Chaos Serpent King told her. What's the second thing? Gu Shan asked. Remember, the plague will notice our presence. In fact, it already knows that we're here, so it will try to stop us as quickly as possible. So I will be in charge of the battle. I will attack all monsters, the Chaos Serpent King replied. Then what do I need to do? Gu Shan asked. Don't waste any time for any monster. You need to run as fast as you can. While I'm fighting, I'll be converting the plague, so I'll leave it to you to get closer to the center of the plague, the Chaos Serpent King replied. No problem. Gu Shan looked up at the sky. It's almost nightfall, just a bit more. Gu Shan took a deep breath, then slowly shrank and turned back into the orange cat. Meow, the orange cat calmly called out. He ran with all his might, quickly crossing the border of the two worlds, the ruins of the city. As soon as the orange cat entered the ruins, numerous rustling noises resounded around him. Innumerable insects emerged. They were all staring at Gu Shan with their crimson compound eyes. Gu Shan's body glowed brightly, radiating in every direction and illuminating all the insects. A line of glowing text quickly appeared in the void of space, frowny face, currently unleashing the Chaos Divine Skill. Clear sky / The Chaos Serpent King had acted. The orange cat regained his spirit and uttered a long meow. A second later, his figure turned into a flash of lightning and quickly flew through the city. He was running at full speed. At certain intervals, the orange cat would use ground shrink to travel a large distance. With him as the center, the intense white light swept through everything. All the insects, all the ruins, all the things that were about to move were directly cut into nothingness by the white light. Wherever the orange cat went, the ground would be flattened and everything would be destroyed. This isn't enough. There's still a long way to go from this place to the desert. The orange cat calmed himself down and continued running. He was like an orange streak of light, flying across the vast and silent land. From the void of space, clusters of ice and snow would occasionally appear in front of the orange cat's mouth. The orange cat swallowed the cluster of snow without hesitation. You've developed resistance to the limb mutation plague. You've developed resistance to the bone dissolving plague. You've developed resistance to the blood collapse plague. Within the holy light, the orange cat moved forward like a blurred image, quickly making his way through the city and following the direction of the canal. Behind him, the ruins of the city had already been erased. This was the power of the awaiting, the Chaos Serpent King. Stop or die. All of a sudden, An angry roar resounded from deep within the canal. A gigantic figure stood up from the river. This was a giant whose entire body was rotting, his eyes filled with brutal killing intent. He quickly chased after the orange cat. A holy white light erupted from the orange cat's body and struck the giant in the blink of an eye. So fast, there's no time to defend. While running, the orange cat silently commented in his mind. Being enveloped by the white light, the giant stopped. He stood still for a few moments before his entire body disappeared inside the holy light. The orange cat continued forward for several dozen miles. Another monster with sharp claws and spikes growing all over its body appeared. It was around a few dozen stories tall. His presence was no weaker than Gu Qing-shan's. Behind this monster was an endless horde of monsters. Infected beings of all shapes and sizes, strong and weak, filled the entire land. Against such a large number of infected creatures, the orange cat couldn't even find a place to stand. That wasn't all. The sky was also turning dark. A humanoid monster with a pair of blood-red spiked wings was flying from afar. Behind him, the countless infected creatures had completely covered the sky. The infected creatures all glared at the orange cat with killing intent on their faces. Their eyes were completely blood-red, their expressions filled with the desire to kill. At this point, the monsters had covered the entire world. Not even sunlight could reach the ground. The orange cat didn't stop. It only took a single step forward before it was plunged into the dense darkness. Another line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face, currently unleashing chaos divine skill. Azure flames. The white light around the orange cat's body flickered and turned into clusters of flames that swept through the entire world like a storm. All the infected creatures were wiped out. Chapter 1430. Within this desolate and destroyed world, layers of white light blossomed. All the infected along the way were directly turned to ash by this holy light. The orange cat rode the light and continued to run forward. At certain times, he would slow down and eat the snowflakes floating in front of him. Lines of glowing text appeared in front of his eyes. Frowny face, you've devoured a unique item. A seal of endless vitality mixed with various plagues. The power you obtain from the seal will be converted into double soul points. As the plague isn't pure power, you'll get a stomachache from eating it. Attention, you'll get a stomachache from eating it. The orange cat's gaze scanned through it without changing. To win against the plague apocalypse, why would I care about such a small sacrifice? Meow. The orange cat uttered a high-pitched cry and sped up. Along the way, the darkness was swept away, and the barren land and azure sky were revealed once again. Through the wilderness, leaping back and forth between the mountains. Across a long lake, killing all the wandering undead monsters on an abandoned village road. On the boundless grassland, the light and the wind blew together. Nothing could stop them from moving forward. Finally, the orange cat arrived at the edge of a large desert. The center of the plague was located deep within this desert. Be careful, the last time I was here, even I didn't enter the desert, the Chaos Serpent King's voice resounded in his ears. Meow, the orange cat calmly called out. He didn't directly enter the desert, but instead found a secluded spot outside the desert and began to dig. Very quickly, a perfect and intricate hole was completed. The orange cat sat on it with a solemn expression. As soon as he clenched his claws, Bayou, after a small fart, the main event had begun. The orange cat's body abruptly trembled, almost levitating. He opened his eyes wide with a shocked expression. He's levitating? Why is there such a huge commotion? Even the previous time, it wasn't this powerful. The orange cat appeared contemplative. This time, I've eaten several hundred snowballs, which basically wiped out all the plague in one fell swoop. Could it be that quantity has caused a qualitative change? Regardless, none of that matters. The most important thing is to quickly resolve this problem. The orange cat's body was constantly shaking, floating, and falling, to the point where he couldn't help but form a hand seal to maintain his balance. More importantly, he absolutely could not fall into his own pile of icy shit. Time flew by. Occasionally, monsters would come to harass them, but the Chaos Serpent would wipe them out with a white light. Finally, the most important moment had arrived. Even the war god UI had provided a summary of the situation. Attention, please. Almost 1,000 types of plague resistance have been generated inside your body. Likewise, all the plague toxins that you have accumulated have been decontaminated and are about to be released for the last and most important time. Please prepare for flight. The orange cat was a bit surprised. Prepare for flight? Why do they need to prepare for flight? The countdown had begun on the war god UI. 3, 2, 1. The orange cat felt an intense pain in his stomach. It didn't even bother to make hand seals and immediately clenched its fists. No, I can't hold it in any more, boom. This was an absolute eruption. The orange cat leapt into the air, rode the wind, and flew like a cannonball into the desert shrouded in yellow fog. Countless monsters appeared from within the desert, bearing their fangs and claws as they charged towards the orange cat. The holy white light continued to erase them, continuously defending and retaliating. "You're too reckless," the Chaos Serpent spoke up. "Hurry, quickly control our speed and direction. We definitely can't just fly straight into the desert like this." The orange cat nodded in embarrassment. Meow. He reached his paw forward, wanting to form a hand seal, but for some reason, his paw was covered in ice and snow, completely frozen. The orange cat was a bit panicked and hurriedly tried to use spirit energy to control his flying speed. But this frost wasn't normal at all. It had even frozen his dantian, temporarily preventing him from using spirit energy. The orange cat continued to descend through the yellow fog. Even if he was extremely resourceful, and capable, he couldn't think of a solution right now. Wait a minute. The orange cat glanced at the war god UI. True luck still has about an hour left. In other words, I'm still under the protection of true luck. The orange cat calmed down a bit. He allowed the wind to carry him forward until he began to descend. The numbness brought by the frost slowly receded. The orange cat immediately used spirit energy to hover in the air, then slowly and silently descended. At this point, there were no longer any infected creatures around him, nor were there any attacks. The white glow around the orange cat's body had completely retracted, seemingly to help reduce the chances of being discovered. A few moments later, the orange cat finally landed on the fine sand. He released his inner sight and scanned his surroundings. The orange cat's body suddenly trembled. As if sensing something, he abruptly turned toward a certain direction. A voice faintly resounded from within the wind. "It's over." But fusing, suddenly, the orange cat's body trembled, carefully listened, then quickly found out that the source of the voice came from within the yellow fog, not too far away. He didn't say anything and simply raised his paw to touch the white glow around his body. "I can fight at any time," the Chaos Serpent King's voice resounded in the orange cat's mind. The orange cat no longer hesitated and flew towards the direction of the voice. A few moments later, the orange cat saw that entity. It was a human-shaped stone statue with a mask on its face. Its entire body was emitting an intense yellow mist that spread out in all directions. A line of glowing text quickly appeared from the void of space. "Frowny face, you've discovered the source of the plague. Apocalypse has spread." At this point, the humanoid statue also turned around to face the orange cat. "Wait a moment, I need to make a report first." The humanoid statue tilted its head to greet the orange cat. The orange cat didn't act right away. He sensed a true threat of death. This threat was similar to a drowning person who was at the brink of death. "If I attack, I will definitely die." The orange cat stared closely at the other party, trying to find any useful information. But this humanoid statue was too mysterious. Other than the faint yellow fog that contained various plagues, it didn't have any other distinguishing characteristics. When its face was carved, it was covered with a mask, making it impossible to see its appearance. The humanoid statue slowly reached its finger forward, lightly tapped the void of space, and spoke. Messenger, the number 796 parallel world, had been completely destroyed. No information obtained. The number 1539 parallel world and number 65 parallel world are currently in a state of fusion, currently corroding. Report complete. All of a sudden, the white glow around the orange cat's body abruptly erupted and attacked the humanoid statue with all its might. We need to destroy it as soon as possible, the serpents of destruction hurriedly called out. For the first time, Gu Shan could hear a hint of fear in its tone. The white glow surged forward and enveloped the humanoid statue. The humanoid statue remained completely still. Regardless of what kind of attack it was, including the intense power that caused the entire world to tremble, even several chaos divine skills that the orange cat had never seen before, none of them were able to harm the humanoid statue at all. It's useless. The apocalypse barrier is protecting me, the humanoid statue casually replied. The only reason you're still alive is because you coincidentally managed to pass through the 1,999 sure death traps arranged in the desert. But luck is not something that can happen again and again, although I've been set up to unleash the plague with all my strength in order to quickly infect every world. I still have the final strand of the power of the apocalypse engraved on my body. This power is specifically used to kill enemies that can approach me under extreme circumstances. I will give you one last bit of time. Choose to join the embrace of the apocalypse or die. The orange cat went silent, then slowly turned back into his human form. Gu Shan looked at the masked humanoid statue and asked, "Who exactly are you?" The humanoid statue was shrouded in faint yellow mist as it coldly replied, "After 3 breaths worth of time, you must kneel down and accept the power of my apocalypse punishment. Otherwise, I will kill you." Gu Shan's eyes flickered a bit and fell silent. The holy white glow around his body seemed to have gone berserk, continuously unleashing sharp beams of light that struck the humanoid statue. But it was still ineffective. 1 breath's worth of time. 2 breaths worth of time. 3 breaths worth of time. State your choice, the humanoid statue said. All of a sudden, the wind began to surge. The humanoid statue didn't finish its sentence for now. Gu Shan also abruptly looked up, only to see a figure rapidly descending from the sky. So fast. Who's coming? Gu Shan's pupils dilated. Boom! The figure landed not too far away from the humanoid statue and Gu Shan. A man wearing a Yiksha mask jumped out from the faint yellow mist, looking at Gu Shan and the humanoid statue. Chapter 1431. Let's rewind time a bit. The Saint's spirit world. The Frost Empire. Red Wraith descended from above, landing in the Empire's royal palace. Including the king and empress, everyone bowed to greet him. "I've already killed that young man called Road," Red Wraith said. Everyone looked up in confusion. The king doubtfully asked, "Sir, didn't you go to assassinate the Roland Emperor?" Red Wraith shook his head. "The Roland Emperor is an opponent that we completely understand. That Road is the true variable. I have to kill him before he can do anything, sir. The Roland Empire is currently in a stalemate with us. More and more combatants are joining the war. We don't have much time left," the king said. The prime minister added, "Furthermore, other than the world where the monsters are extinct, sir, we've discovered a new world." "Ah? What kind of world is it?" Red Wraith asked with interest. "A world destroyed by the plague apocalypse. It's currently fusing with the Saint Spirit world," the prime minister replied. "What do you think?" Red Wraith asked. The king replied, "There are too few compatriots left in the Saint Spirit world, and we can't contact them on the outside. With just a few of us, it will be a bit difficult to defeat the combatants of the Roland Empire," the prime minister added. "If we can guide the plague apocalypse to descend upon the Roland Empire on a large scale, our chances of victory will increase quite a bit, but this is very risky." Because of this level, Red Wraith didn't say anything and simply paced around. The entire palace was silent. The wraiths who had taken over bodies silently waited for Red Wraith's decision. After a while, Red Wraith asked, "Plague apocalypse, do we have any records of it?" A wraith who looked like a historian replied, "Sir, we do. The plague apocalypse is unsolvable. The most dangerous, unsolvable, was the lowest of the four apocalypses. The reason why the army of Void City upgraded the Plague Apocalypse to unlivable and didn't dare to send anyone else to fight was because they didn't know that this place was actually the fusion of three worlds. Hearing that, Red Wraith appeared relaxed and replied, "Even if it's most dangerous, an unsolvable apocalypse shouldn't have those truly terrifying things. At most, there would only be a few tools responsible for spreading the plague. But now that the worlds are separated, those tools wouldn't be able to summon messengers. As long as we don't disturb that artifact, I could try to guide the plague in the dark." Having made up his mind, Red Wraith abruptly looked up to observe everyone around him. Everyone immediately knelt on one knee and bowed their heads. "Sir, please instruct me," Red Wraith said. "Unseal the strongest body. I want to use it, yes." Everyone remained kneeling on the ground. Only the king, empress, the prime minister, the minister of military affairs, the marshal, and the church's consulate general stood up. Each of them held a talisman in their hands and shouted, "Seal, open." There was a flash. The talismans in their hands quickly burned away, but a series of iron chains appeared in the void. All the iron chains collapsed. Then, a coffin gently landed on the ground. It was a grayish-white stone coffin with a huge talisman pasted on it. The talisman suddenly turned into ashes. Bang! The coffin opened. A corpse covered in crimson talismans appeared in front of everyone. Red Wraith turned into a cloud of mist and flew into the corpse. A few moments later, the corpse slightly moved and stood up from the coffin. The crimson talisman began to burn. A set of crimson full-body armor manifested out of thin air, scattered into various constructs, and covered the corpse's body. Following that, a Yiksha mask descended from above and attached itself to the corpse's face. The corpse raised his hand, opened his palm, and lightly closed. Oh! An intense gust of wind abruptly manifested, blowing across the entire conference hall. An invisible pressure that caused everyone to feel suffocated abruptly manifested. Everyone was firmly pressed to the ground, unable to even budge an inch. With the power of this heavenly being's corpse and all of my strength, there shouldn't be any issues. Red Wraith's voice resounded from behind the Yiksha mask. He casually drew a mystical trajectory in the void of space. The crimson talisman manifested out of thin air and quickly burned. A large hole was burnt in the void of space, from which one could faintly see the scene on the other side. It was a world shrouded in faint yellow mist. The heavenly being's corpse wearing the Yiksha mask stood there without moving. It observed the world on the other side and focused its gaze. Red Wraith's voice resounded again. "It truly is an unsolvable apocalypse. Very well, I'll go take a look at that plague world and see if I can guide the plague to descend upon the Saint Spirit world. After I leave, you will carefully deal with the matters of the front lines." Everyone replied in unison, "Yes, sir." Only the king had a hesitant expression on his face. Red Wraith no longer looked at his subordinates and quickly walked into the hole in space. The hole slowly closed up. The king suddenly stood up and asked everyone, "Sir, did you bring your weapon?" The military minister was surprised and replied, "Originally, it was inside the heavenly being's inventory bag, but Sir asked me to carve a few runes on it, so I took it out." Everyone felt tense. "Are you done yet?" the king shouted. "I'm done." The military minister hurriedly took out 2 blades and replied. The king took the blades and took a deep breath. "I'll give them, sir. I hope he won't be angered by your careless mistake." Red Wraith appeared in the sky. A thin layer of mist drifted into the distance, along with the intense wind in the sky. Red Wraith observed for a few moments, then muttered, "The direction this mist is drifting towards should be that monster's extinct world." He casually drew a line with his finger. A talisman manifested. "The 3 worlds are currently fusing. Their borders are intersecting. If that's the case, I only need to change the direction of the wind." The talisman began to burn. In the sky, the wind stopped for a brief moment. Suddenly, the wind appeared again, but this time, it had changed direction. Red Wraith observed for a while, then shook his head. To change the direction of the wind towards the Saint Spirit world, and the Roland Empire, he needed to adjust it a bit more. Right now, the wind was simply creating more upward force to prevent the mist from easily falling down. In truth, it wasn't too hard for Red Wraith to adjust the direction of the wind. The key was that the change in the wind had to be natural and couldn't be noticed by a certain artifact within this apocalypse. This was the difficult part. Just as Red Wraith was about to draw another talisman, he suddenly stopped and muttered, "What an ominous feeling! Will I be discovered?" He drew a line of blood on his neck, dipped his finger in the blood, and lightly drew a line in the void of space. Complete concealment. As we've said, the weapons of the Wraith realm contain causality law. Guy's hex techniques are guaranteed to hit. Life talismans are unpredictable, activated at the cost of one's life, extremely difficult to deal with. Before Red Wraith finished his words, that event had already occurred. That event was within true luck, something that should have been impossible to happen. The sky, the wind, the layer of clouds, and the fog below. From the depths of that completely undetectable world, a crimson streak of light shot out like a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, this crimson life talisman struck Red Wraith. Woo 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 woo. This is Wicked Thought's burning spirit. What exactly is? For the first time, Red Wraith's voice contained a bit of panic. Life talismans were his foundation, so he naturally knew how to undo the Wicked Thought's burning spirit talisman. However, the price was the majority of this heavenly being's power. But I can't hesitate any longer. Red Wraith clenched his teeth, endured the pain, and immediately made his decision. He stopped drawing the original talisman and turned his finger to draw another talisman that could undo Wicked Thought's burning spirit. The talisman was completed. A dark green glow began to radiate from the talisman. The talisman disappeared. All the dark green light converged into a cluster and was about to enter Red Wraith's body when a hole appeared in the void of space. A pair of hands reached out. Both hands were wielding two blades. At the same time, the respectful voice of the Frost Empire's king also appeared. "Sir, you forgot to bring your weapons." The dark green light directly crashed into the void of space, bringing the two blades and the king's fearful "Forgive me, sir," before completely disappearing without a trace. Everything in the sky returned to normal. Red Wraith was stunned. He was temporarily speechless, then quickly blacked out and fainted. In the sky, the wind continued to howl. The changed direction of the wind allowed Red Wraith to hover, fly, and move in a disorderly manner. Not too long later, flashes of white light abruptly appeared from deep underground. Light and darkness intertwined. Air currents surged. A storm of blood. Red Wraith abruptly stood up and muttered, "So noisy. Damn it." His body shook and flew towards the direction of the commotion. Deep within the desert. "State your choice," the humanoid statue said. Gu Qingshan was quickly thinking of a solution. All of a sudden, in the sky, a figure was quickly descending. So fast. Who is it? Gu Qingshan and the humanoid statue both turned to look. Boom! The figure landed not too far away from the humanoid statue, and Gu Qingshan, a man wearing a yiksha mask, jumped out from the faint yellow fog, looking at Gu Qingshan and the humanoid statue. "You're so noisy, just die." The Wraith roared in irritation. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.